We're alive. We're alive. And there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of organizing that needs to happen. We're going to be talking about that. My unfollow spree is going triple platinum today. All right. Well, in any case, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, MBs, there's a lot to talk about today, and we're going to get right into it. I'm just going to freaking blast off. But I guess one note that I will have for you is that I did a 14-hour broadcast on yesterday. For those who don't know, I mean, this is what happened. The election took place, and we couldn't do the steal. Okay? Hold on one second. Stop the steal, election aftermath. Democrats seize defeat from the jaws of victory. Once again, blame game time. Get in now. Trump wins. Okay. Sad, but Trump content is so excited. No, I don't. I'm not entertaining that bullshit. Like, I don't give a fuck that hogs and hogalinas are going to have a metric ton of tremendous content. It literally does not matter. I think that the future of this country is in a dire situation. Now, make no mistake, the future of this country was in a dire situation whether Kamala Harris won or Donald Trump won. That was 100% 2016 Reddit ad take. No, dumb fuck. This is the correct take. The country was fucked regardless of whether Donald Trump was going to be president or Kamala Harris was going to be president. It's fucking bleak. Okay? It's so goddamn bleak. We had a Republican primary last night. I don't know if you recognize what just took place. Okay? We had a Republican primary last night and the Democratic Party lost it. And we're going to be talking about all of that. We're going to talk about how right I was about so many of the fucking issues that everybody was telling me I was on fucking Cope Watch, or I was wrong. I'm so wrong. Kamala Harris is brilliant. There's a brilliant method to the madness. You just don't understand it. You don't have the same fucking internal polls. And it's not just like people that were in this fucking community that were telling me this every now and then, but there was also so many goddamn people that were in my even like personal life that was telling me this shit. Made me feel like I'm going crazy. And it was very frustrating. Anyway, stop the steal. End of the show. Ested nailed it. I am going to hopefully have our buddy Ested on. We'll see. I mean, I reached out to him. I was like, listen, I hate that we find each other like this, you know? I hate that we find ourselves in this moment, but Ested and I had these conversations. Ested Hernan is a New York Times reporter. He is on the Daily today, absolutely blistering the Democratic Party and talking about Donald Trump. Now, I need you to understand. Something, okay? Friend of the show is Ested Herndon. And I had these fucking conversations so many times. Okay? So many times. So, hopefully, what? Your most famous VOD watcher vindicated again? If someone is publicly endorsing a political figure, that doesn't even mean they're gonna fucking vote for them. Celia Banks reveals she decided to vote for Donald Trump despite previously stating she would vote for Kamala Harris. Lamau, I lied. I voted for Trump yesterday. That's fucking hilarious. That is hilarious. All of the demographic shifts we're gonna be looking into as well. But in any case, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, MBs, we have a lot to talk about, okay? We have a lot to talk about today. That's why I blasted off already. But here, one thing to say, in terms of personal news, all I'm going to say is this. I went to bed last night at 2, okay? I went to bed last night at 2 a.m. I woke up at 6 a.m. I had a conversation with my family, as I always do in the morning, okay? And then I went and I worked out. Okay, I went and I worked out at the gym. Why did I do that? Because life goes on, all right? It does not fucking matter. You just have to keep staying. You have to stay on message. You have to stay with your rigid life and work-life balance. You have to still feel human, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that Donald Trump's the fucking president. Like, again, it's going to suck. It is what it is. You just have to still focus on your own life. You have to still focus on improving yourself. Okay. First and foremost, you need to focus on yourself and ensure that you're healthy. And no matter what, before people say, it's because you're a white man and it doesn't matter, or whatever the fuck you want to say about that, it does matter. Okay. It will be beneficial for you regardless. It will be beneficial for you to continue doing these things, continue improving yourself. You'll become a better person. You'll become a more confident person, and it will allow you to have some semblance of stability. Okay? Very important. Why? Why is this very important? It's because for this past year, okay, over this past year, I have talked extensively about the dire situation that's happening in Gaza, the dire situation that's happening in the United States of America, that America unfortunately is bearing down the barrel of something nefarious, regardless of whether Kamala Harris won or if Donald Trump won. Obviously, the situation is much worse when Donald Trump is winning than Kamala Harris winning, but it's bad regardless, right? And a lot of that stuff, and especially like how vitriolic the online discourse has gotten, should normally cause me to possibly kill myself, okay? But I am mentally in a healthier place, in a happier place than I've ever been. And I think part of that is because I work out. It's because I work out every day. I have set goals for myself, and I have achieved certain goals that I've set for myself. And I think that is really significant in helping me maintain some semblance of control over my life. I posted this the other day before the election. I said, vanity stuff aside, working out and becoming physically fit has truly improved my mental health in spite of the insane levels of vitriol online. It's something I have control over, and achieving these goals has restored my confidence. I hope this inspires others to work out as well. And that is the truth, because when so many things are happening in the world that are completely outside of your control, you have to focus on things that are within your control. This is one of those things, right? And it has massively beneficial, it has massive benefits for your mental health. Okay. It's you will feel better. It's something that I truly think will be helpful for every single one of you. So it's something that you got to work on, you know? That's one aspect of it. It doesn't have to be just working out, for the record. You can fucking learn a different language or something. You know what I mean? You can learn to become a puzzle master. I don't know. But in times like this, I think it's very important to remember that. It's very important to remember that, you know, there is a world outside of politics, even though politics can get ugly, even though politics will be massively consequential in you know, your own personal development, your own personal life. Like, nobody wants to think about a goddamn government stooge coming in and disrupting a medical procedure that you normally had the freedom to be able to get. And now you can't because a bunch of the dumbest people got together and decided, fuck that. You shouldn't get that. I want to control what you do to your own body. That's devastating, and I totally understand that. But in spite of all of that, like I said, it's good to rely on one another in times like this. It's good to rely on your community in times like this, and it's good to rely on yourself in times like this. That's it. If you want to be a puzzle master, go see the #1 puzzle fan, Hasanabi hit. I just love puzzles. Yeah, I'm not like a big puzzle boy. I'm just saying that, like, there's a thing out there for you. There is a thing out there for you, and I hope you can find it, and I hope you can pursue it, and I hope that in the process of pursuing said thing, no matter what it is, you will feel a sense of control over your own life. I think that's what the major problem here is. A lot of people look to the situation at hand and recognize how helpless they are, recognize how powerless they are, and basically think, what the fuck is going to happen? This is a dire situation. I've had so many Trump supporters reach out to me in the last 24 hours to be like, so what's up with this Trump guy? Why is everybody saying he's so fucking aggro? Like, can you... And this is like good faith. This is not bad faith. Okay? People are just like, they literally are just like, I don't really get it. I don't know why people are feeling this way. And I think that is a massive problem with, like, the way that the Democratic Party has not communicated, the way that the media has dropped the ball. We're going to be talking a whole bit about that today. As a woman, I don't feel like I have bodily autonomy, so how can I feel control over my life? Great question. That's what I was trying to say. That's what I was trying to explain, that like, in spite of all of that, just like kind of shutting that out for at least 30 minutes at a time throughout your day to hyper focus on something that gives you meaning, that gives your life a little bit more meaning, I think will be positive. It'll be beneficial, because while I will personally never be able to understand what you're an idiot and directly influenced this. That's funny. You're right. Definitely. I directly did this because I played Vote por Trump, the song, too much. Yeah, I did this. I'm Kamala Harris, by the way. Guys, I did this. I'm Kamala Harris. I've been working with Kamala Harris. I'm Doug. I'm both of them. I have actually been campaigning with Kamala Harris. I'm the one. I'm sorry. I'm the one who sent Richie Torres to Michigan. I'm the one who told the campaign to send Bill Clinton to Michigan to be like, Judea and Samaria is goated, and that, you know, all Arabs deserve to get killed. Honestly, it is what it is. Don't vote for us. We don't want it. My mistake. Okay. My mistake. Didn't think that was going to fucking fail spectacularly. I was the one who said Liz Cheney should be a prominent fixture of the fucking campaign. My bad. Mea culpa. I will recognize it and I will own it. I'm sorry. I told the camp we're launching them like missiles into the fucking suburbs. They will be screaming bloody murder. They will be singing the gospel. They will carry the red book. They're all Maoist third worlders now. They're all in the Democratic Party's coalition. They're going to fucking turn. That was me. I'm the one who said, do not campaign about any of the economic issues that a shit ton of Americans are experiencing in a time when they have felt negative real wage growth. Do not do that. Do not talk about that at all, okay? No matter what. Talk about civility. Talk about institutions and talk about defending those institutions. That's what I said to the campaign. That was me. That was my bad. I was like, please, no matter what you do, there are 35 polls that show that you are picking up at least 6 points if you change trajectory, if you separate yourself from Biden's Gaza policy. No matter what, do not do that. Do not separate yourself from Biden. I said in the last hour, do not ever separate yourself from Biden. Go on The View. I said to Kamala Harris, I said, Madam Vice President, you must go on The View and you must tell the American population that you are just like Joe Biden. I'm sorry. As a Democratic campaigner, I said all of those things and they listened. And now I'm here to say my bad. Okay. And it was really shitty because at the same time, the Trump campaign's research found that up for grabs voters were about 6 times as likely as other battleground state voters to be motivated by their views of Israel, war, and Gaza. This is why Trump fans ramped up the anti-war rhetoric in the last few weeks of the campaign. And to me, I saw that and I knew that because I was reading the polls that said, hey, you should say something about this, right? And I always said, don't you say a thing. Don't you say a damn thing about this, because that's bad. If you say a damn thing about Israel-Palestine that communicates that you understand the victims, the humanity of the victims in this circumstance, an objectively unpopular policy that the Biden administration has continued along with, despite the fact that 80% of Democrats, 70% of independents, and 54% of Republicans wanted a ceasefire. I told the campaign, don't do that. Lean in to the right-wing reactionary government of Benjamin Netanyahu. Lean into that. Air hug him. Give him another $8 billion. Do that. That's what I said. It's my bad. I said, send John Fetterman over to fucking Joe Rogan. Do that. Send the one guy in the Democratic Party's caucus that literally cannot communicate due to a disability that he has. Like him, hate him, doesn't matter. It's a format that requires you to speak. That's what I said. I was like, Tim Walz, you shut the fuck up. You shut your goddamn beautiful mouth, Tim Walz. I don't want you anywhere near the Joe Rogan experience. Bernie Sanders, go back to the back office. I don't want you anywhere near the Joe Rogan experience. So if you guys didn't understand what I was doing there, I was responding to one chatter who said that, I am the reason why the Democratic Party lost. And I gave you some of the reasons why the Democratic Party lost, assuming the position of a Democratic analyst, a Democratic campaign consultant. Now, of course, you could probably tell that I was being humorous in this situation. There's a lot of normies in here, so I wanted to, make sure that you understand what my position is, make sure that I clarify. No Democratic campaign consultant would ever acknowledge or admit or apologize for their failures. They would never do that. So that's why it's a joke. Never in the history of the fucking Democratic Party has a Democratic consultant gone out there and been like, my bad. Peter Dow, last guy he did that with Hillary Clinton. That was it. Peter Dow is the last guy. Now he's like a literal fucking radical Maoist third worldist. Okay? He's the last guy. Also, look at this dipshit. Now that the election is over, I think we can finally say that, yeah, actually, Project 2025 is the agenda, lol. Also, I recommended never say that they're weird again, yeah. Bro, damn, I watch your streams a lot. When did you have time for all that? Damn, disappointing. It's like you were snatching failure from the jaws of victory. Yeah. So, if you want to know, Axios is already reporting Trump is going to begin operations to deport millions of undocumented immigrants when he starts his term. Campaign press secretary Caroline Leavitt said Wednesday morning he'll launch the largest mass deportation operation of undocumented immigrants on day one. It's Nazi time, okay? And I cannot begin to explain to you how dire the situation is going to be. But before we get to what Donald Trump is going to do, let's talk about some of the fucking failures, some of the glaringly obvious failures, okay? Because there is a lot that needs to be said. I know that immediately after this massive fucking loss, the Democratic insiders, the rat fuckers themselves, went to the media and started talking about how it's the left that was the problem. It was the third party voters that was the problem. The margins aren't there. If every third party voter voted for the Democratic Party, Kamala Harris still would have lost. Understand me? I hate that this is yet another instance of I told you so, but the worst possible instance of I told you so. It sucks. It's hollow. It doesn't fucking feel good. Okay? We're going to get to all of that. But let's get started with Donald Trump projected to become the 47th president of the United States.
This will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have. This is a magnificent victory for the American people that will allow us to make America great again. Oh.
We welcome you to a special...
Hold on. You say you thought Harris would win the night before? Yeah, I did. I slightly favored Harris winning with an electoral college W in the blue wall, as opposed to a general population, like a general election, overall population victory for Donald Trump. I thought that Donald Trump was actually going to win the popular vote, and Kamala Harris had a slight chance of winning the electoral college. Okay? And the reason why she lost the electoral college, and I said the only reason why it was a slight, very marginal chance for Kamala Harris, was because of the many failures of the campaign that I have been actively fucking communicating. Actively fucking communicating for months! For months and months and months. I've been fucking screaming about this shit. And so have many others. But ultimately, everyone came in here and chirped and chirped and chirped and chirped and chirped and chirped and said, no, you don't understand. The ground game is great. Ground game is great. The ground game wins elections. Ground game wins elections. It doesn't fucking matter when the top line communications are bad. If the campaign doesn't have a good message, $30 million of ad spend in every fucking swing district is not going to change it, okay? You can pump them filled to the fucking brim with bad messages and bad campaign strategies. They're not going to respond positively to it. And the fucking vote and the polls were right. They didn't respond to it, okay? That's it. The polls were correct. It's very frustrating. It's very, very frustrating because ultimately all of the imaginable problems that we presented over and over again that so many fucking people did not want to see were correct. Revisionist history, dude, you are shameless. You said she would win. The video is still you. Chatters, please, beg you, look at this, okay? Look at this. What the hell is Kamala doing with Ested Herndon of the New York Times, okay? Is Kamala Harris's strategy all wrong? Are Democrats throwing this election? Does Kamala Harris still have a chance? Kamala Harris is wild for doing this podcast for months and months and months, both on the Pod Johns podcast, both on Newsweek and numerous articles. I talked over and over and over and over again. I was confident in my statement wrong, and I hope you never took what I said as chirping at you. So yeah, I'm devastated. I think several people at work to turn out voted for Trump law, so fuck me, I guess. For months and months and months and months, I said consistently that Kamala Harris has a slight chance of victory, but overall her prospects are dire. I said over and over again that the reason why this race is even close, despite Trump's campaign being overall awful, which it is, and many people are going to tell you it was brilliant. Many people are going to tell you Trump was fucking brilliant. He did a fantastic job. He did not. He did not do a fantastic fucking job. Okay? He didn't. Donald Trump lost votes from 2020. Kamala Harris lost a fuck ton more votes from 2020. And that's it. You should have been more vocal. This is on you, brother. What? It's all your fault, Hassan. I think we have a lot of trolls in the chat today, by the way, who, as always, don't necessarily care about the truth, but more so just want to like find a way to somehow make this my fault. I don't know how you think a Twitch streamer is responsible for the future of the future of the republic, but anyway, Americans were angry. Okay, Americans were very angry, and the campaign once again did not respond to them at all. They did not respond to their anger at all. Time and time again, I said, here, I mean, I'm on the record on this. I'll show you. There's a couple different moments, but I think one of the most prescient moments is this one. Okay? It's what I said after the DNC. Holy shit, my SEO is awful, dude. I just Googled I just searched Hasanabi DNC last night. I couldn't even find, my video doesn't even come up. PBS NewsHour, Keenan Thompson comes up. Where the fuck is this? Anyway, are you going to be covering the concession speech later today? Yes. YouTube is also very right wing. It's like the fourth one down. No, this is John Oliver on election 2024 from the fucking Hasanabi archive too. I think there's a problem, and I don't think Democrats are recognizing it. One, Donald Trump knows he's losing, okay? And he desperately wants to win. That's number one. Number two, Democrats think they're winning, and the race is actually close. I don't like that at all. I think that originally Kamala Harris was like legitimately pessimistic and skeptical about her prospects of winning. Like she was actually doing a good job. Not like not gloating and being careful. I mean, Democrats are so lucky that they're running against a party that has like forgotten how to run for office. Okay. Where is the...
He will give them another round of tax breaks. In fact, is a national...
Insane. Oh, here, this is it. My God. That's it. This is all it took. I can't do it. Every single reason why you were excited about Kamala Harris, beyond the fact that she was not a carcass, was literally the exact opposite of this mentality. This is old Democratic Party mentality. We're back. Good to be in business. This will be a very close race. Kamala Harris will most likely still win it because Donald Trump, unless there's some other caveats I'm going to show you in a second, Kamala Harris will most likely win this election only because the Republican Party is so completely insane. They don't know how to run a normal, competent race anymore. Donald Trump already has maxed out his name recognition. Those will be the reasons as to why Kamala Harris will most likely win. However, there's a caveat. Benjamin Netanyahu will take America's long military dick and wave it at everyone in the region, bringing troops into the fray. Okay, bringing troops into contest. Do everything in his power to make sure that the Dems don't win. Kamala Harris will be attached to all of Joe Biden's worst foreign policy achievements. Barring that, without that, this election is not in the bag at all. I've been warning that the Democrats are way too cocky, way too fucking confident about the Brad Summer memes, the momentum that they got, the momentum that they experienced. That momentum came because the Democrats responded to public pressure. I'm sorry. You have to be the dumbest to be like, I'm voting for Kamala Harris because she's going to go to war with Iran, because she's going to stand up to America's enemies. You want to know why I know you don't think that that's a good speech? Because you're coping in the chat saying, well, it's not for me. Maybe it's for some other person. Maybe it's for the Trump guys that want to drop Trump, but just like need that extra oomph. Are you saying this was a 1 out of 10 absolute train wreck in your opinion? No, of course it's not a 1 out of 10. My expectation coming into this speech was to see what Kamala Harris talks about when she's like the joy candidate. She's gonna bring hope and change and joy. She had the opportunity to run a 2008 Obama. That's what I was expecting. Even if it was fake, my expectation at the very least was that the couple moves that they made, they were going to lead into a progressive messaging campaign. I'm sorry. The Democratic president should never, ever say we're going to have the most lethal army, the most lethal military in the world. You're supposed to be the counterbalance to fascist, jingoistic sentiment. You're supposed to at least aesthetically present yourself as the peaceful candidate, as the peaceful party. She went up there and went cop mode. It was shocking. Like, I shit on anarchists all the time. You know this. I do. But goddamn, they're kind of not wrong. That's crazy, man. She had all this progressive momentum. And now all she's got are the loyalists who are just begging for someone, not Biden. So the answer is to not vote. Man, I'm not saying that. Vote for Kamala Harris, baby. Do whatever the you want. I'm not going to tell you not to vote for her. And most will tell you to say that you're not going to vote for her, to try to fucking get her to do your bidding. As a voter, it is your right. It's your right to demand things from your politicians for your vote. They do not have your vote for granted. They should earn it from the jump. The one thing I will tell you is not vote for Donald Trump. When it comes to like making a political calculation, it's always running towards the mythical guy out there that is like, I'm going to only vote for the Democrats if they become moderate. Then become a Republican. I never hear a Republican go, you know, Donald Trump's got to take this line. He's got to take this soft approach because there's some moderates out there that he needs to win over. Because that's not a thing. Because they're entitled to their politicians doing their bidding. Democrats are so cowardly that they're like, I want this thing, healthcare, free college. I want these things. But honestly, I'm terrified that my neighbor doesn't want it. And he's not even going to vote for the Democrats, but maybe he will. So we should just run on this moderate policy for some other guy, not me, but another guy that might want it. It's wild that we're always seeking out this mythical moderate. People take for granted in European countries all of the policies that we are desperately trying to bring forward. But here in America, it's a non-starter. Trans people were mentioned twice during the whole DNC, by the way, no speaker. I mean, that's like that aspect of it, as long as it's like a firm commitment to have to trans people, I don't believe that the Democrats are going to lean into trans panic, which, by the way, actually, I don't know. Maybe they will. They're just going to become the Republican Party of 4 years ago until that ratchet effect makes it so that the Democratic Party inevitably becomes the Republican Party just at the same time. Jake Tapper on CNN. There were criticisms from the left calling Kamala a cop. Tonight, she seemed to have stepped right into that. True. They're celebrating her being a cop. This is a right-wing Democrat movement, and they're not even hiding it. But no, you don't understand. Chatters will tell me all about how good this is. Bang, dude, and go vote for Trump. Bro, I swear to God, the Dems are so back. This literally is like, you know, oh, if you don't want to vote for her, like you don't vote for her, like you're saying that she shouldn't be this like right wing. You must like Trump. That's crazy. Like, you think that's a good way to message, dude? You think like you should try and push people away from the party? You think this race isn't close? Democrats in the electoral college, Democrats need to win by 5% nationally minimum. That's without factoring in, obviously, in the current polls, at least a 3 to 5% margin of error. We're not even in that comfortable space yet, and you motherfuckers are running victory laps. Ooh, it's crazy.
Quick interview?
Yeah. This is the last night of the DNC. This is when I came to the unfortunate, rather sad conclusion that the Democrats were actually going to tack to the center and center right in an effort to pick apart moderate voters. And they did that. And I kept reiterating how bad of an idea that was and how this had not worked in the past. In numerous conversations with academics, journalists, activists, and the like, I kept saying over and over again, this is a bad idea. This is not a good idea. This is a bad idea. and that it is a risky gambit for no reason. It is a risky gamble, and it's not going to work. It has never worked, and it probably won't work. It only kind of worked for Joe Biden in 2020, and that was likely a consequence of COVID. Okay? Here is another warning that I issued to the Democratic Party on that Newsweek article last October.
The Democratic Party has this profound skill in snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. It's an issue that they would not have had if they had leaned on where people were hurting and how they were going to help them. And they didn't do that. They went with a very conservative lean. The Democratic Party's like harm reduction strategy as a way to just like shame voters away from extracting concessions and just voting for the Democrats every single time without making any demands whatsoever, as they actively push a lot of people in the base of the party away. If you rely on that without offering things to people, well, then you're inevitably shrinking your base. Whether Trump wins or loses, we are, and I mean this, living in Trump's America. Like, he might lose this election, and the Democratic Party will push Trump's 2020 agenda. That's what they're running on. That to me is crazy. That to me is genuinely terrifying to think about. The Democratic Party has this.
Yeah, but no, what do I fucking know? And it's not just that either. There was a bunch of other issues here, like in terms of youth turnout, the male youth vote. That is going to be something that a lot of people are going to be paying attention to. I sounded the alarm about right-wingers dominating the online space for young men. 47% of the 18 to 29-year-old men voted for Donald Trump this election cycle. The amount of right-wing radicalization that has been occurring, especially in younger male spaces. Everything is completely dominated by right-wing politics. If you're a dude under the age of 30 and you have any hobbies whatsoever, whether it's playing video games, whether it's working out, whether it's, I don't know, listening to like a history podcast or whatever, every single facet of that is just completely dominated by center-right to, I wouldn't say far-right in the same way that it was back in like the 2016 era at the end of like Obama's administration, but like definitely center-right to Trumpian right, like openly Trump right, not like genuinely neo-Nazi. Go back and re-examine the conversation I had with the Pod Johns. The Pod Johns are the most like permissible left-leaning people that you can have within the orbit of the Democratic Party versus someone who is completely outside of the influence, outside of the sphere of the Democratic Party. Compare that conversation, compare the notes, compare the warnings that I issued to the Pod Johns on the Crooked Media podcast that I was on. Okay? And you will understand why we failed. You will understand why the Democratic Party failed. You will understand what the Democratic Party has to do. They will not do it because obviously they are beholden to the same corporate benefactors. They are still beholden to the same corporate masters, just as the Republican Party is. But the Republican Party gets away with being cruel. The Democratic Party still has to maintain the veneer that they are progressive, that they're supposed to be a counterbalance, that they're supposed to be a counterweight to the Republican creep towards fascism. Okay? That part is quieted down a little bit, but like they're like 90% of the way there for the most part. And that's it. Everything that they see is right-wing sentiment being expressed by individuals that they find charismatic, thought leaders, influencers that they subscribe to. And I think that that is some of the reason why you see this movement. Pro vote came through for Trump, 49 to 47. Yeah, 49% to 47%. Okay? I don't think people understand what this looks like. I don't think people understand what the future prospects look like for the Democratic Party, what the future looks like for this country. Meanwhile, on MSNBC, the progressive era has to end if the Democrats want to win again. They are tacking right again. It does not matter for them. They literally, as I told you, also correctly, they do not give a shit. They do not care. They do not care about this defeat. They're using this to say, we didn't go far right enough. It's a 30-point shift to the right. Facts don't matter anymore. There's a whole generation of young people influenced by disinformation fed by influencers who are primarily right-wing. Other than you, there are no examples of relatable masculinity on the left for young people under 30. Yes, I am going to continue doing what I'm doing, and I'm going to continue getting fucking mercilessly shitted on by those fucking pathic demons on the right that are capturing the attention of young men in general. It doesn't matter though. This is not like simply a cultural war that you can win with. This is not a cultural war that you can fucking win just by doing podcasts. That's not, you can't do that. You have to still have a solid defense mechanism at the top that aligns with the interests of people like myself. Okay? If the Democratic Party still is running around being like, everything is fine, actually. I mean, oh my God, just vote for us. The institutions, we got to defend the institutions. While everyone is like, I don't give a fuck about the institutions, man. The price of bread is too high. The price of eggs is too fucking high. Fuck you. I don't give a shit about your stupid fucking civility. I want to blow it up is their mentality. You can't reach to them. You can't reach out to them. You can't fucking communicate to them. There is a lot of ground to make up. The biggest lesson of 2024 campaign ads don't matter. Studies agree, but the media space does. The right has content mills churning out brain dead slop. They're popular. They work. Dem should plow through their massive warships in the progressive and liberal media. No, that's not the only problem here. That's not the only issue. It's not just that like they're not giving me enough money so I can fucking dominate the podcast circuit or whatever. If their solution is to unleash 1 million Harry Sassans into the fucking suburbs, they're still gonna lose. They have to address the material harms that people are fucking experiencing. If they don't do that, it doesn't matter. You can have every single TikTok twink out there running the fucking gamut, talking about owning people in the marketplace of fucking ideas. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not just about dominating the fucking communications field, okay? It's not just that. And I like some of those guys, okay? But that's not the major issue. You cannot have a party that is ideologically committed to third way neoliberalism, constantly tacking to the fucking center right, constantly trying to re-triangulate as the Republican Party pulls the entire fucking country towards fascism. You can't do that. Because if one party's saying, we're going to do concentration camps, we want to fucking kill migrants, and the other party's like, no, actually, we want to kill the migrants, but like in a gay way, people are going to be like, okay, I'm going to go with the migrant murder party instead. They've been there for years and years. I trust them more on this issue. Now the only thing you've done as the Democratic Party is you basically said it's normal. You've normalized that position now. Good job. Good job. All the while, the entire resentment towards migrants literally stems from nothing. It's not even real. It's not a real problem. There is no national security threat that migrants constitute in the United States of America. Undocumented immigrants are responsible for less crime per capita than natural-born U.S. citizens are. That's why it's so fucked. It's literally born out of a lie. It's just made up. It's just pure vitriolic racism. It's just misinformation. What is this? Atlanta Journal-Constitution update. Several of the migrants I've been speaking with say they would have voted for Trump themselves. Most of the folks who crossed the border illegally in the last 2 to 3 years, they don't believe Trump will deport them because they are here to work and are not criminals. That's the other aspect of this. How many times have I described to you, Americans don't know. They don't understand what the impact of policy is going to look like. They don't know until it fucking happens. Look at Roe v. Wade. Look at Roe v. Wade. Has a chance of defeating Joe Biden. I think Trump has a chance of defeating Joe Biden. But worse than that, even if Joe Biden wins, I think we go back to business as usual politics here in America. And next time around, it's not going to be Donald Trump. It's actually going to be an ideologically minded fascist, not a proto-fascist who kind of succeeded somehow and fooled Americans for long enough to get into a position of power, but an actual terrifying leader.
Oh, my goodness.
I think Trump. Oh, my goodness. Well, I was wrong. It was Donald Trump, at least on that front. But it's Donald Trump who is the fascist. Go back long enough, you will find me accurately telling you exactly what the fuck's going to happen. But do they not understand that you don't have close enough influence to sway the entire election? No, this is not about me. Like, the people that come in here and say you're responsible for this electoral defeat are just like fucking delusional losers that are looking to place the finger of blame at anyone but the Democratic Party for some fucking weird reason, okay? Staggering class realignment / shift in working class from Jeff Stein at Washington Post. Harris lost despite major shift of affluent voters her way. She, literally what I said about her hemorrhaging the base while simultaneously desperately trying to grab on to as many suburban Hitlerites as possible happened. That's it. The base fell out. The bottom fell. That's what happens when you fucking run around and go, I'm small business. I'm a small business. I love transnational gangs and prosecuting them. I love prosecuting small transnational gangs as a business. What am I going to do for the economy? Oh, don't worry. $50,000 in tax cuts if you want to start a startup. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Talk about how you are going to unleash Lena Khan on fucking price gougers. Talk about how you're going to make the grocery stores scream bloody murder for the crime of price gouging. That's what people wanted. That's what they wanted. Yeah. This is the chart. She spent months courting Republican endorsements, writing the 2016 Clinton strategy to certain defeat. They risked it all to build a centrist party of suburbanites and college kids and lost. It's time to move on, but I don't think the Dems will move with us. Registered Republicans, shockingly, voted for Republicans. Kamala Harris saw Nikki Haley absolutely get demolished in the Republican primary and said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be Nikki Haley, but with a D next to my name. 400,000 likes, by the way. This is not Kamala's fault. She worked her ass off to a beautiful campaign with 100 days she had. She's arguably the most qualified U.S. presidential candidate ever with prior experience in all three branches of the government. Americans simply voted against their best interest. Like, I don't disagree with some of the fucking sentiment here, except for the major one, which is, yes, it is her fault. It is always the fault of the campaign. She had $1 billion. She had $1 billion and she lit it on fire. Shut the fuck up. What do you need? $2 billion? You want $3 billion? What the fuck are these people talking about? Yeah. I don't want to say I told you so, but this run to the moderates looks like a spectacular failure. Lethal military, muscular border policy, and parading Liz Cheney didn't swing votes in Dems' favor and only worked to normalize Republican positions. And the bottom fell out. This kind of narrative needs to be crushed to death. It's neoliberalism all the way down. Neoliberalism must die for the Democratic Party to live. Yeah, the issue is the Republicans and the Democrats are both doing that. But the Republicans are at least communicating a fucking right-wing populist sentiment. And populism works. When you do not trust the institutions, you want someone who
has a chance of defeating Joe Biden.
At least fucking lies. You know what I mean? At least lies to you. Let me tell you, a lot of people are going to talk about mass deportations because that was the signature policy for the Trump campaign. They're going to say, how the fuck are undocumented migrants down for the mass deportation stuff? Like, it doesn't make sense. They must be stupid. They must be stupid as fuck. How the fuck is everybody down for undocumented migrants being mass deported? Okay. Adam Kinzinger try to dunk you on this bullshit. How to guarantee a loss in 2028. That's amazing. I just don't understand how. Does he mean the strategy you're talking about is how to lose, or is he a dipshit? I know he's saying he's saying that like we didn't go hard enough on the muscular military shit. For the record, I want you guys to understand something, okay? Number one, plenty of people are going to look to the results and say, we just didn't go far right enough. That is dumb. That is stupid. You are pushing away your base and you are hemorrhaging support from demographics, literally are anti-establishment and loved Bernie Sanders, okay? This is very important. Key constituencies that fucking loved Bernie Sanders are now completely lost. Young Latino men, young Latino voters in general, either don't vote or young Latino men straight up went to the Republican Party. That was the Bernie constituency. Young Arab men and Arab men in general, Arab women in general, okay, either went to the Republican Party due to the fucking Gaza shit or just didn't vote, okay? These are people who were literally the Bernie bros, right? You were so resistant. You kept saying that they were fucking misogynistic, and you pushed them away into either not voting or even going, you know what? I actually wanted healthcare and none of this gay shit. I don't really care about the gay stuff at all, but I just want healthcare, into going, you know what? No one's giving me healthcare, but I still don't want the gay shit. At least this guy is representing the anger that I feel. Not comprehend how we have lost so many people. I mean, I can comprehend it. I know exactly how it happened, but I just cannot comprehend how the Democratic Party has not been responsive at all to this fucking depolarization on racial boundaries. And another thing I want to point to, by the way, they chirped so much at black people. So much. What did they do? They were like, oh, there's a big swing for black men towards Donald Trump. What did I fucking tell you? I told you that that was going to be marginal in comparison to Latino men and, more importantly, white men without a college degree. White men without a college degree and Latino men without a college degree went by much larger numbers of the Republican Party than black men without a college degree. But that didn't stop the Kamala Harris campaign from activating O'Bungler to fucking go out and be like, oh, well, seems like a lot of you black men are a little misogynistic and pussy too. You think that's a good message? The fuck? Yeah, I'm glad that we spent a whole ordeal centering the narrative around how black people are too misogynistic to fucking vote for a black woman. That was great. That was a great fucking media opportunity. Great stuff. What did I tell you? I told you that shit was bunk. It was nothing. It was ridiculous to hyper-focus on black men, which was going to be a sliver, a fucking sliver, much smaller percentage regardless. Despite all that chatter, Trump didn't really gain with black voters nationwide. 86% Harris, 12% Trump. Unchanged from 2020 when 87% of black voters went for Biden and 12% went for Trump. Black men statistic, 78 to 20 in 2024, 79 to 19 in 2020. 1%. 1%. It drove discourse for a fucking week. 1%. I said it. I told you. I fucking told you this shit was bunk. It was bullshit. It was just a permission structure for white liberals to just shit on black people again. Okay? And that's precisely what the fuck happened. For no reason. It is terrifying to watch the Democratic Party just hemorrhage its fucking base and refuse. Make no mistake. They are the idealists. Okay? They are the idealists. Okay? The liberals at the tippy top of the Democratic Party are ideologically committed to a dead movement. Neoliberalism has failed. Tacking to the right over and over again has failed. And yet, win or lose, they go, we just got to go to the right. We just got to get more racist. No lessons learned whatsoever. Does not matter to them. That is why they ran a dogshit fucking campaign, in spite all signs pointing to major flaws. How many times did I show you 30 plus polls that were conducted on separating Kamala Harris from Joe Biden on Gaza and how beneficial that would be? The margin of enthusiasm would make up for the percentage point of loss that Kamala Harris had in every single swing state, every single one. Just on that issue alone, you lost 0 voters if you changed trajectory on Gaza, and you only stood to gain voters if you changed trajectory, even on the communications front. It would have been a hard thing to explain to people that you were going to be different than your administration that you're a part of. Okay? It's not being a single issue voter. There are plenty of people who are single issue voters, however, on this matter. Dear White staffers is calling for campaign workers to leak the mismanagement. Your ground game does not matter if the top line communication is bunk. Okay? You cannot outflank the campaign. You can't lie to people when you're door knocking and be like, no, Kamala Harris is for Medicare for all. When you're door knocking, you can't turn around and just lie to people about what the campaign actually represents. If the campaign is saying, these are our talking points. If the campaign is saying, we are going to be the civility party, we're going to be the defenders of the institutions, and that's your overall communication to voters, that's the thing that you are presenting to voters as the reason for why they must vote for you, Okay? People are not going to touch that. And last but not least, of course, one of the biggest problems was Joseph Robinette Brandon. Prem Tucker is completely right. Why vote for a diet Republican when you can vote for the real thing? Do you think it's just a Palestine situation? From what I heard, is the suburban white men that didn't show up. No, it's not just a Palestine situation. That's just another glaringly obvious flaw from the campaign that shows me and everyone else that's paying close attention that they didn't have the votes to lose, and yet they were acting like it was fine, that they could win without them, that they could win without these votes. Here's the poll on the matter, okay? Pennsylvania, 34% of respondents said they would be more likely to vote for the Democratic nominee if the nominee vowed to withhold weapons to Israel, compared to 7% who said they would be less likely. The rest said it would make no difference. In Arizona, 35% said they'd be more likely, while 5% said they'd be less likely. And in Georgia, 39% said they'd be more likely, also compared to 5% would be less likely. Now, this doesn't mean that like 34% of people that responded that they would be more likely to vote for the Democratic Party weren't going to vote, and now they are definitely voting. That doesn't mean that at all. But in those massive fucking margins, you have to recognize that there is at least a 5 to 6% swing in your direction because the war is deeply unpopular by Americans. And it's not the only poll. There was like 30 plus issue polls that showed this reality. 30 fucking plus. Emma retweeted this. My takeaway from the results, it looks like America has shifted right a lot. Some of this has to do with the frustrations over inflation, sure, but I think there's more here. Democrats have been running campaigns the old-fashioned way, and I think we acknowledge that it's not cutting it. We raise money like crazy, mop the floor, Republicans and voter contact efforts, get out the vote operations and advertising. We also get way more major endorsements, but at the end of the day, it barely makes a difference. Most voters get their news through social media, and on social platforms, we were getting washed. Since 2015, Republicans have been building up their infrastructure to control the airwaves, and right now they do. Their content gets more impressive impressions on nearly every platform. That's true. All of this stuff is true. I've been saying this. I've been ringing the alarm bells about this shit too. But you have to remember, it's not that the country is moving to the right. Please make no mistake. Okay. On every single issue poll, Central Committee, thank you for the raid. Hope you had a good stream, brother. On every single issue poll, every single one, when faced with two options, mass deportation or mass amnesty wins. It's got majority approval. So why is the Democratic Party not showing that? People say trans panic stuff is really, really good. The anti-trans messaging is really successful. It's a massive banger, okay? It's a really good way to campaign. 64% of the population think trans people are being discriminated against fairly. It is not like... It is what you see in the media. What you see in the media and what is represented in the media is not the reality on the ground. That is precisely the reason why a faceless, lifeless ballot measure that, if communicated by Democrats, would be considered a radical one, like increasing the minimum wage to $15, passes in a state like fucking Missouri. That's it. Abortion protections are massively popular in states where Democrats lose by fucking 10 points. How? I thought America wasn't progressive. I thought they hated progress. How is that possible? Perhaps it is because the Democrats are so scared for pushing. If Trump wins, there'll be efforts to blame Russia interference or Harris or Biden, etc. That's all fair, but we need to be clear-eyed that a huge swath of America likes what Trump is selling. Transphobia, mass deportation, that's what he ran on, and here we are. No, dude, no. And I'll tell you, I'll give you a reason for this, okay? I'll give you a reason for this. Here's what I mean. There are tens of thousands of people in this community that voted for Kamala Harris. Do you agree with Kamala Harris's policies across the board? Do you? No, of course you don't. No, of course you fucking don't. And there are plenty of Republicans that either aren't paying attention or don't give a fuck about any of this shit either. And they just think, oh, he's going to fix the economy. And they're dumb enough to think that that is, going to happen with Donald Trump. That's it. The idea that like everyone is hyper tuned to every single part of the campaign's messaging, and that's what they're they're so excited to go out and vote for Donald Trump because they all want concentration camps at the border is fucking stupid. It literally does not track with reality. It does not track with the messaging polls on this. And you'll see it. When he starts the mass deportations, you'll see how angry people get. Because one, what do I always say? Americans don't understand the policies that they're either voting for or just don't think about it at all. They just don't know how bad it's going to be. And that is a flaw on the counter messaging side from the Democratic Party. They never once communicated that all this border shit was bunk, that it was all born out of right-wing panic, hysteria. You think it's an accident that every 2 years, whenever there's a fucking midterm or a general election, there's a caravan that comes out of nowhere? They pulled that ripcord over and over again. You know they're going to do it. Show me the clip, chat. You know the one I'm talking about. 2021, when Biden started going against the anti-immigrant rhetoric. I said this. I said that this was going to be a massively consequential problem for the Democratic Party. You know the one I'm talking about. All the way back in April 2021. One of you's got to have it. What is this? When historians look back at this election, they're going to see this moment as the one that solidified the victory for Trump. Yeah, radical progressive, according to Dems, Tlaib had nearly double what Harris had for voters in Dearborn. In Dearborn, Rashida Tlaib did nearly twice as well as Kamala Harris. Speaking of Rashida Tlaib, I'm going to be having her on the broadcast on Friday, I believe. Yeah, Harris says there's not much she'd have done differently than Biden over the last 4 years. What a fucking baffling concept. Where are my linkers at? Oh, here it is, Jules Verne. Thank you. Jules Verne. Oh, here it is. Here.
Part of one of his early executive orders, Biden established a task force to locate and reunite migrant parents and children who remain separated.
This wasn't the one I was looking for,
but as of early April, the task force...
The refugee cap is still at the same levels of the Trump administration. There's so much bullshit that the Democratic Party engages with when it comes to just like the continuation of white nativist reactionary points of view and reactionary white nativist policies, especially as it pertains to criminal justice and immigration. This is border crisis narrative is incredibly annoying from the media, by the way. They are March 15th, 2021, absolutely feeding into this. And they're going to cause the Democrats to behave in a totally, even in a more reactionary way than they were already going to behave. It is so incredibly manufactured. There's always been a crisis at the border. When there are humanitarian problems occurring at the border as a consequence of the conditions there, 120 degrees they have to traverse in the desert, all that sort of stuff. And then also the American government adding on to the cruelty with the way that they choose to deal with people that are crossing the border, that are seeking asylum. There is an extra crisis on the border. There's always a crisis on the border. It's never stopped. The problem is the way media covers it. You can either cover it like you do under the Trump administration, which is somewhat honestly, from a moral grandstand point of view, like an actual honest point of view, by saying this is really messed up, this is really horrible, the way that we are treating these people is absolutely ridiculous. Or you can treat it in a way where you look at the border and you say, there's a gigantic crisis happening in the border currently, and it's really bad because so many people are coming in. So many people are coming in. What are we going to do? Depending on who is in charge, we either deal with it from the point of view of reactionary garbage, claiming that this is a huge issue, not taking an actual stance on it, but just simply channeling the right-wing agitations as they have done. Just covering it as, many Americans are concerned that the border is turning into a pile-on with hundreds of thousands of migrants coming in through the floodgates. Like, that's no different than what Fox News says. No different than what Fox News says. When MSNBC is saying it, or whenever, the Associated Press is covering it in that way, they're doing a disservice. If they truly have a left-wing point of view in the way that, so many imply, then they have to recognize that simply offering contentious coverage on a particular matter does not mean that you're doing honest coverage on the issue. So, all you fucking want, you can go, la, 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 I don't care, they are all illegal. This was what happened in No Kids in Cages from February 24th, 2021. The Biden administration seems to be going back to some of their promises regarding immigration reform. Anyway, the point is, a lot of people will turn around and say, Hassan, hindsight is 2020. This is not hindsight. This is foresight. This is just sight. It's not hindsight. That's copium. If you say it's hindsight, you're wrong. There are plenty of people who saw this ahead of time, myself included. Okay? And the only reason why I was there correctly pointing to this, despite the fact that I'm not fucking Alan Lichtman, nor do I have goddamn keys, is because I understand how this shit works. I've been following politics for years and years and years and years. I look at messaging polls. I look at issue polls on the matter. They are conducted on a regular fucking basis. Okay? It's not about some bunk methodology. Just understand that Americans are of two different minds on the same issue always. American voters, the median voter, believes in a sea of contradictory opinions, okay, that are sometimes directly at odds with one another. That's why when you poll people on the issue of immigration, right, 60% will say, I want mass deportation, and then 60% will say, I actually want mass amnesty. I want conditional amnesty. It's your fault for listening to a dude with a Justin Bieber haircut who's like 70 fucking years old if you thought that he had some brilliant insight into how this stuff works. I don't discount it. I mean, everyone was desperately looking for hopium. That's why a lot of like more liberal commentators, more centrist commentators were popping off in the lead up, in the build up to this fucking election cycle. But I hope that people will understand that looking for copium and looking for hope is not going to lead you down the correct path. You are going to be you are going to be deluded. Too soon to shit on the keys now. Real key heads are mourning right now, brother. I apologize. 4 years ago, Biden got 81 million votes. Kamala Harris has 67 million votes so far. Let's just say it will even go up to 70 million. That means more than 10 million Dems voted to stay home. Stop blaming third-party voters. Yeah, Trump lost 3 million votes. Kamala Harris lost around 10 to 15 million. So do with that information what you will. Of course, the base fell out. Okay? The base fell out.
I think there was this very powerful ad, the Republican Jewish Coalition, that was all over the airwaves. A bunch of women sitting around, Jewish women, just saying, I can't stand him, but I felt like we were supporting Israel and we were stronger and we were tougher. And I think that resonates with people.
Nah, exile these people. Exile them. Ridicule them. I'm sorry. You should not be this comfortable. You cannot be this wrong and this comfortable at the same time. I don't care if you have a prominent position in mainstream media. No, that's fucking bullshit, man. That's bullshit. He didn't go hard enough on Israel. What the fuck? These people have allowed twice for a fucking fascist takeover of the country that has set in motion events that are creeping America towards full tilt Hitlerian politics. Okay? Twice now, they have enabled this. I'm done with this shit, dude. I'm fucking done with this shit. Holy fuck. Not a shred of evidence cited. These pundits probably aren't even aware that 61% of Americans across the board support an arms embargo on Israel, and that undecided voters in key swing states were 34 to 39% more likely to vote for Harris if she supported an embargo. But we shouldn't care. We shouldn't expect these pundits to care about actual facts. They are determined to ignore the reasons for their failures and just blame everyone else in perpetuity.
Fear about Israel not being protected. There was never a response from the campaign on that, which I thought was a big mistake. Amanda Berman from Zioness had to raise money running her own ads trying to fight back alone. That didn't work. So, but listen, you tied her to the economy, you tied her to Biden, you tied her to weird, and it was not a good
I agree with everything you're saying. I just didn't want to engage in the autopsy before we've called the race and before she dropped out. But, you know, one thing on that, the answer on I can't think of anything offhand about where she would differ with Biden was disastrous, and there's no doubt about it. The question is what motivated it and whether she just felt she did not want to.
Loyalty.
I'm seeing a lot of blame for the far left. Oh, I really hope. I mean, look, the Democratic Party is never going to learn this lesson. I don't think that the media is going to present this as a viable alternative because they obviously still want to get fucking ad contracts to the tune of millions of dollars from these big businesses.
Yes,
but I really hope that there are normal human beings out there who recognize what is going on to simply say that this country has shifted to the right without making an accurate assessment, without looking at actual issue polls, okay? Without accurately analyzing what the campaign's failures were, and then claiming that the Democrats' fault is that they didn't go hard right enough is insane. That is so insane. If you go right, the Republicans will go even further right. They always have been able to outflank the Democratic Party on this stuff. And the question still remains, even if that was a successful message that won the election for you, do you really think that this is a good idea? Now, obviously, it wasn't successful regardless, so we don't even have to entertain that hypothetical. But if you were to entertain that hypothetical, even for a brief moment, if Kamala Harris was able to say, I'm the real border person, I'm going to fucking kill all the migrants myself. Don't trust Donald Trump. He's not serious enough about killing migrants and deporting them. I'm the real migrant killer. Do you actually want the Democratic Party to be the migrant mutilator party? Is that the smart thing to do? Even if that was a successful message, is that the future that we want to build for the United States of America? This is shocking. Whether the country went right or whether the Dems just ignored the population and wasn't focused on the issues, the solution is the same message, better, and offer voters something. Yes. What do you think of Brace Belden's theory that a lot of people lost their minds completely sometime around 2020? I agree. I really do. The idea that like Kamala Harris wasn't pro-Israel enough and the notion that like Jewish American voters only care about Israel is so fucking idiotic. 79% of Jews voted for Kamala Harris. 79%. And Kamala Harris was incredibly committed to Israel. It was the 9th priority for American Jews out of the top 10 priorities. 9th. Israel was the 9th priority. Why the fuck would it be number 1? They're literally American, okay? This argument is unironically the woke version of dual loyalty. Like liberals, because they get away with this when they're pro-Israel, say the most unhinged anti-Semitic shit. They're like, yeah, you know these Jews, they have dual loyalty to Israel. That's the one thing that they care about. It's like, no, that's not true. That's not fucking true. What the fuck? And yeah, speaking of this, Jonathan Greenblatt, we congratulate President Donald J. Trump, Vice President-elect J.D. Vance, and all the candidates who won last night. We look forward to working with the incoming administration, Congress, and all elected officials in pursuit of our 111-year-old mission to stop the defamation of the Jewish people and secure justice and fair treatment for all. We remain steadfastly committed to the timeless mission as we fight the torrent of anti-Semitism sweeping our society. Ben Lorber says, utter depravity. According to exit polls, 80% of American Jews voted for Harris. We are waking up horrified for our country and our communities. Misogyny and racism have a factor in this is a question that a lot of people are going to be asking. Okay? The reality of the matter is, of course, it plays a role. But how significant of a role it plays is up to the campaign. Kamala Harris did a pretty good job of not doing the I'm with her nonsense, something that I also said was fantastic. It was smart, right? But beyond that, you have to overcome that hurdle, right? You can't just go, people are too racist and too misogynistic. I guess we can't ever elect a black woman is insane. That's an insane proposition. Do you understand? That's an insane proposition. That's an incredibly racist proposition to be like, sorry, we just simply cannot have a black woman run in this country. When you got, you look at Mexico. Mexico is 98% Catholic. They elected a Jewish woman. They're more woke than we are. I wonder why that happened. Perhaps it was because people thought AMLO was very popular and Claudia was AMLO's successor. How did that happen? Mexico elected Claudia Sheinbaum, a socialist Jewish woman. People don't give a fuck. If they believe you, if they believe that you are going to fight for them, they will vote for you and they will reward you with votes. Okay, over and over again. Elizabeth Slotkin defeated Mike Rogers to keep the Democratic control of a critical Michigan Senate seat. At least there's that. All the takes are correct, and yet they also missed the point, says Jason Hickel. Yes, it was insane for the Democrats to think they could win by running a soulless candidate without a shred of progressive policy vision, pursuing endorsements from neocon war hawks everybody hates, while arming and funding a genocide and belittling crushing those who have enough morality to protest it. It is enraging that the Democrats are so smug and blind to this. But these are just all symptoms. The deeper reality is that liberalism has failed. Liberalism is dead, and people urgently need to wake up to this fact and respond accordingly. It is a defunct ideology that cannot offer any meaningful solutions to our social and ecological crises, and it must be abandoned. I 100% agree with this. Liberalism has been an overt failure, and we are watching the failures of liberalism unfold in Europe as well. Our European allies are also going through that exact same problem right now. You have the rise of the fascist right in Germany with AfD. You have the rise of the fascist right in France. You have the rise of the fascist right everywhere in Europe. Liberalism is bringing about a damning wave of fascism. We have to wake the fuck up. If you do not provide adequate solutions and make a compelling case as to how you are going to earnestly fight to get those solutions passed to the material harm that everyone in the Western world, in the working class, is experiencing, you are going to let fascism win. And that is precisely what the Democrats are doing. Democrats have proven over and over again that they cannot accept even basic steps like public health care, affordable housing, and a public job guarantee, things that would dramatically improve the material, social, and political conditions of the working classes. And they cannot accept a public finance strategy that would steer production away from fossil fuels and towards green transition to give us a shot at a livable future. Why? Because these things run against the objectives of capital accumulation. And for liberals, capital is sacrosanct. They will do whatever it takes to ensure elite accumulation. It is their only consistent commitment. At home, they suppress and demonize progressive and socialist tendencies. Abroad, they engage in endless wars and violence to suppress input prices in the global south and prevent any possibility of sovereign economic development. The Democrats have done all of this purposely and knowingly for my whole life, not as some kind of mistake, but in full consciousness that it is in the interests of capital. This is why we say it is two sides of the same fucking coin. Okay? This does not mean that there are severe differences. One side is bouldering towards fascism, but the other side is absolutely allowing said fascism to win. Here is David Sirota's assessment from 1938. FDR's warning. The year before a fulminating Nazi rally in a packed Madison Square Garden in New York, FDR warned that the global rise of fascism was the result of democratic governments doing the opposite of the New Deal and protecting an economic status quo, enriching a tiny handful at the expense of everyone else. Democracy has disappeared in several other great nations, not because the people of those nations dislike democracy, but because they had grown tired of unemployment. They'd grown tired of insecurity, of seeing their children hungry while they sat helpless in the face of government confusion and government weakness through lack of leadership. He said in a 1938 radio address, finally, in desperation, they chose to sacrifice liberty in the hope of getting something to eat. That is what is going on in the United States of America right now. That is what is going on in every Western nation that has seen a major growth in fascist movements, a rise of the fascist right, people who are overtly, openly white nationalist. In times of economic turmoil, when people are suffering, when wage growth is not outpacing inflation, when your dollar, when your take-home pay does not go the same distance as it once did, you are infinitely more susceptible, infinitely more vulnerable to right-wing propaganda. When you're angry and one side says, oh, don't be angry, the economy is rebounding, stupid, what the fuck? And the other side says, you're right to be angry. And who should you be angry at? Not the rich, not Elon Musk, not the elites, not the billionaires. There are some good billionaires like Elon Musk. You should be angry at the fucking Mexicans. You should be angry at the undocumented migrants. You should be angry at the liberals who are putting trans people at the forefront of the campaign or whatever the fuck they're saying when they haven't done that. You should be angry at those who are weaker than you, and you should punish them. You should dominate them. And if we dominate them, then your life will get better. But their lives won't get better. Their lives will get worse. That's precisely what happened in the 4 years of the Trump administration, which, you know, due to a bunch of different circumstances, led to a literal carcass winning over Donald Trump by 42,000 votes in a couple states, but a win nonetheless. I think the other piece that liberals are not just dying, they're attacking the left on the way down. They realize right-wing movements are dominating everywhere because liberals have spent decades shitting on the left. Host of NBC's Morning Joe with Mika Brzezinski, dressed in black for the occasion, engaged in a real honest conversation about why Kamala Harris lost. A lot of Hispanic voters have problems with black candidates. They don't like each other.
Really quickly, too.
Yeah, let's do further race wars without accurately analyzing what the fuck is going on. This seems good.
Democrats need to be mature, and they need to be honest. And they need to say, yes, there's misogyny. But it's not just misogyny from white men. Mm-hmm. It's misogyny from Hispanic men.
Right.
It's misogyny from black men, things we've all been talking about, who do not want a woman leading them. Might be race issues with Hispanics. They don't want a black woman as president of the United States. You know, the Democratic Party, I've always found when you're sitting around talking, they love to just sort of balkanize everybody into these separate groups and say, oh, white people don't like women and black people. No, it is time for the Democrats to say, okay, and you and I have talked about this before, a lot of Hispanic voters have problems with black candidates.
Right.
A lot
and
of,
with other Hispanics. You got some that don't like each other. And some of the most misogynist things I've...
Nah, I'm done, dude. Nah, these guys are so... they're so fucking annoying. They're looking for a comfortable narrative. And of course, the most comfortable narrative in a country like the United States of America is still going to be instilling racial animus and racial division. Okay? So it's so fucking annoying. It's so goddamn annoying. How is it any different than like Fox News at this point? Notice how they never have the same fucking smoke for white men, which overwhelmingly vote for Republicans. Instead, they yell at black men, Hispanic men, Arabs on the left. Yeah, it's just disgusting. It is disgusting. And it is a dying fucking ideological movement. I said this last night. I told you, liberals are going to get real fucking racist with it. They're so one note. They're so goddamn one note. White men, 74%. 74% of white men. White women, 69%. OC said this in 2020 and also seems very prescient looking at the results. But the ending of the story is the same no matter which man wins. America is still in a lot of trouble, warns AOC. There's a temptation to view Trump as an aberration, she says, rather than a wake-up call to the failures of the American government at large. Under a President Biden, if his life doesn't feel different, she points to a cab driver whizzing by our table. If their life doesn't feel different, she gestures at people walking by the beauty shop and Bengali halal grocery. If these people's lives don't actually feel different, now she's giving a stump speech over her omelet. We're done. You know how many Trumps there are in waiting? She's tired of incremental change. Bullshit little 10% tax cut, she says. I think, honestly, a lot of my dissent within the Democratic Party comes from my lived experience. It's not just that we can do better. It's that we have to be better. We're not good enough right now. It's okay to hate women as long as you put white in front of it. Yawn. I don't know which race this is from. I don't think this is the overall national race, though, the numbers that you guys presented me. Especially because I just saw fucking 69% of white women. I don't think 69% of white women by national percentages went to Donald Trump over Kamala Harris. It's got to be Georgia, right? Yeah, well, Georgia is important, though, because that is where she was supposed to have that impact. That is where she was supposed to have that impact. She went into the suburbs, right? She was supposed to win over the fucking suburbs. What happened? That was what that method was for. And look at that. And I told you this as well. If white women don't break for Kamala Harris, she loses. And they didn't. Look at this for sure. Current Senate Dem overperformance compared to Harris by margins. Tester plus 13. Osborne plus 13. Klobuchar plus 11. I need you to understand something. Gallego plus 7. Brown plus 7. Allred plus 5. Rosen plus 4. Heinrich plus 4. Kim plus 4. Tim Kaine plus 3. Slotkin plus 2. Baldwin plus 2. I need you to understand something here. Kamala Harris had down-ballot consequences pulling these results down, okay? That's the other part of this. Some of these guys were very right-wing, like Tester in fucking Montana. But ultimately, unlike the top of the ticket, senators have to run issue-based campaigns. And when you are forced to run an issue-based campaign, okay, you are going to have better results. Oh. It was a Biden problem. The good news is there isn't really a Dem problem. There was a Biden problem. Biden was hugely unpopular and Harris didn't break with him problem. Yeah. Sure, they were running in very red states and not nationally. Tester, Osborne, and Gallego all dive right on stuff that would have made lots of Democrats mad if Harris had done it. Sure, they were running in very red states and not nationally. Conversely, Osborne dived left on economics, which Harris could have done. You cannot outrun the campaign. You cannot outrun the fucking campaign. Do you understand? You cannot outflank the campaign. If the top of the ticket is saying, these are our messages, this is what we're going out with, it doesn't matter how many millions you spend in ad spend. It doesn't matter how good your ground game is, because when you're door knocking, you have to still defend the policies of the campaign. And if those policies do not address the material harm that people are experiencing, they're going to go, you didn't convince me. Okay? Coping and seething and coping. Okay, dude. Yeah, I'm coping and seething for routinely fucking screaming bloody murder about how absolutely stupid the messaging was from the top of the ticket.
And I like that he didn't actually plan to ban abortion. He just brought it back to the States.
ASU tells MSNBC she voted for Trump because she likes that he doesn't plan to ban abortion. Anyway, good news is that Biden seems to have some really great lame duck priorities. The Biden administration is planning to rush the last of over $6 billion remaining in Ukraine security assistance out the door by Inauguration Day. And I'm gonna tell you something right now. That's a must-pass bill, okay? And it will most likely pass. That is going to potentially have, according to Chuck Schumer, if Chuck Schumer is actually going to follow through on this, a bill that slaps on anti-Semitism as a hate crime for criticisms of Israel. Inflation of the criticisms of Israel as anti-Semitism into that bill. Chuck Schumer said that. He was going to do that in the lame duck and slap it onto a must-pass bill. Prison arc for Hasanabi, baby. Let's go. Thank fuck. We really needed that. Netanyahu and Trump talked about the Iranian threat breaking Israeli Prime Minister office. Netanyahu spoke to President-elect Donald Trump and was among the first to call to congratulate him for his victory. The conversation was warm and cordial, and the two agreed to work together for Israel's security and discuss the Iranian threat. We should also be mad at what you have said, the DC Beltway analyst focus group hacks that do shit like muzzle wallets and tell Harris not to say we're not going back because it didn't test amazing. These people are the ones that made her sound like a robot, and why there's no passion in Democrats. People hate it. Yeah, but Kamala Harris was a blank slate. Okay? What you write on that blank slate matters. She was given a wipeout. Okay? It's so stupid. A lot of people will point to, 44% of the American voters thought that Kamala Harris was too liberal. Yes, dude. They do. It doesn't fucking matter. You want to know why it doesn't matter? Because she's a black woman from California. Of course they're saying that, despite the fact that she kept reiterating her commitment to being as right-wing as physically possible. So at a certain point, you have to understand, like, they're going to call you a socialist or too liberal anyway. Her most successful policy was combating prices at the grocery store by effectively communicating that she was going after price gougers. That was literally her most successful policy. That is radical socialism. And the Republicans kept saying, that's radical socialism. That's Venezuela. That's Venezuela. That's Venezuela. That shit was polling after all the fucking combating, after all the fucking attacks launched against it at a higher percentage. It was polling at 83%. 83%. Americans hate Obamacare, but love the Affordable Care Act. They hate Obamacare, but love the fact that 26-year-olds can stay under their parents' health care. Love the fact that insurance companies cannot deny you coverage for pre-existing conditions. Stop focusing on top-line idiotic nonsense. Dive beyond the polls or the messaging data that the media is trying to represent to you to make it seem like America is far more reactionary than it actually is. I cannot comprehend how we look at this massive fucking failure. And by the way, update. Biden has now spoken to Trump and invited him to meet at the White House in the near future. Yeah, he's going to hug and kiss him. And also, Kamala Harris's speech is going to be live in 15 minutes, her concession speech. Overall, exit poll show, by the way, Kamala Harris literally lost white women again. Or wait, yeah, across the board, 54% of women voted for Kamala Harris. Where are the white women? Let's see. 55% went to Trump again. DR made a settlement for the working class as he was an elite. that drew power from outside the market. Those elites don't exist anymore, and the logic of the market is always to capitulate to capitalism. I don't think social democratic settlement will occur, considering there is no communist counter-hegemon, Chinese or neolibs now. I agree. That, I think, is a dire ideological prospect. Nationally, just over half of men supported Trump, and just over half of women supported Harris. That pattern was visible. Race and ethnicity, 41% of white voters went for Kamala, 57% went for Trump. Nationally, roughly 1 in 10 voters were Hispanic, a similar share as in 2020, according to early network exit polling. Harris won slight majority Hispanic voters nationally, significantly underperforming Joe Biden's 33-point margin in 2020. 33. Stop listening to these fucking idiots, okay? At a certain point, you will realize that these guys are just running on a reactionary slant. They're simple contrarians that have been far too invested in the fuck Hasanabi train for some weird reason I don't really understand. Oh, fuck Hasanabi people are going to be more annoying now that now after Trump is in office? No. The most insufferable streamers cough. Mike from PA cough will be forced to acknowledge that Kamala was smart to pivot the center and aggressively target moderate Republicans. Guys, please. Yeah. He also owes our boy money, for the record. How much is it? Is Michael in here? Mike, are you in here? How much does he owe you? $1,500 now? What is it? How many times have you fucking owned this delusional guy? What's the total? In this thread, he shows all my correct analysis. Kamala winning means the worst people you know of will feel like complete shit. MAGA will be caught way off guard because they all think it'll be a Trump landslide. Elon will be forced to confront the fact that he simply can't buy his preferred outcome. Anti-electoral Twitter lefties will feel utterly irrelevant and powerless. People, please, you have no idea how much I need this. The most insufferable streamers, cough, Mike from PA cough, will be forced to acknowledge that Kamala was smart to pivot to the center and aggressively target moderate Republicans. Please. It turns out that Kamala Harris was lying when she said that Biden and Harris were working 24/7 for a ceasefire and hostage deal. Being a leftist is about being right, but too early for people to admit. October's surprise of a war with Iran could lose their election. Harris has completely fumbled by turning to the right and totally cratered her support among young people and black people. Pathetic and deserved. It's really amazing just how siloed pro-Kamala commentators are from the actual empirical data on polling error. The overwhelming evidence is that the downside risk in this election is in underestimating Trump in the actual vote. That fact is basically ignored. Here's my map as of today. I could be convinced that she holds Wisconsin, but it's irrelevant. Harris loses even with Wisconsin flipping blue. He was right, okay? He was right. And I find it really weird that these guys are so wrong and they're not even embarrassed to be wrong. Will we have a fair assessment? Be fair to him today, admitted that you were right. The top level data shows us something that seemed inevitable in hindsight. The country, like many others, blamed the incumbent party for inflation, and Kamala inherited that blame. I find myself disagreeing with Hassan a lot these days, but he's absolutely right that if the Democratic Party is going to chart a path in the 21st century, we need to figure out a way to compete in that space. Conservatives are dominating alternative media right now and have been for years. That is an issue that's not going away. It's beyond that. Okay? That is one aspect of this conversation. But if liberals only hyper-focus on like dominating fucking media in the podcast space, they will lose again because this problem is larger than that. Okay? Please. I have been ringing the fucking alarm bells on not only right-wing radicalization, especially amongst young men, especially on social media, but beyond that, I have consistently maintained the same position over and over again, and I hope people hear me when I say this. It is not just about having a bunch of people like me or Harry Sassans going out there and doing podcasts, okay? It's not just that. There is a major problem with the way that the Democratic Party is seen by the broader population for good reason. The Democratic Party are seen as the elite institutionalists at a time when people do not believe these institutions any longer. There is no more trust in media. There is no more trust. And by the way, that's the fault of mainstream outlets for the most part. Just remember that. Although I have a lot of trust and respect for many journalists that work in these institutions, they're fucking dropping the ball spectacularly, okay? This decentralized space has created this massive fucking rift where people just look for their hug boxes, okay? They look for their own hug boxes. They do not see anything outside of that at all. But there is one way to break through, and it's not just like making the best fucking possible podcast to appeal to these people, okay? That's one part of it. But what you also have to do what you also have to fucking do is change the attitude of the Democratic Party. Okay? You have to focus on the material harms that people are experiencing, and you have to actually put up a fucking fight. Drop this bullshit with like corporate donors and corporate benefactors. If you don't do that, fascism is going to thrive, and you are slowly but surely going to lean to the right over and over again, year over year, and always refuse to comprehend like why this is happening. You're like, oh, people are too stupid to vote for us. Why don't they vote for us? Why don't they vote for us? It's because you're just simply normalizing right-wing sentiment to your base when you do that, instead of launching a fight. People are not separating your quote-unquote socialist identity and your analysis of how the DNC has been fucking up since 2016. It's one of the biggest uphill battles I've noticed when engaging with naysayers. I know. If I had never been revealed as a socialist and I simply said I'm a diehard, die-in-the-wool, vote blue no matter who type fucking Democrat, and I'm simply looking at the polls and saying like, well, it seems like people really want Medicare for all, then maybe there would be less animosity towards the things that I'm talking about. People, when I kept repeating all of the failures of the Kamala Harris campaign, everybody simply said, nah, dog, the only reason why you're saying this is because you care about Gaza. Nobody else cares about Gaza. Shut the fuck up. That's why you're just cynically talking about all these other aspects of the campaign in an effort to make Kamala Harris look bad. No, it is because I did not want Donald Trump to win. And I'm sick and tired of the Democratic Party constantly fucking losing to psychopathic and genuinely unlikable fascists. It's fucking ridiculous. I care about trans people. I care about undocumented immigrants. I care about black people. I care about these marginalized communities that are going to be harmed. I care about women being able to have autonomy over their own fucking bodies. These are the things I do care about. I care about the working class. I don't want these people to get harmed under another administration that is going further and further into right-wing fascism. This was a resounding victory for the Republican Party. Honestly, I was a major naysayer. I called you cynical. I'm sorry. I was very wrong. It's okay. But remember, if you came in here early on to tell me I was wrong, okay, I do not fault you for that. There was so much communication from the top that like, no, actually the left is fucking delusional. They're stupid. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They're patently unserious people. And they're doing that right now. They're doing that in mainstream media right now. Okay? At this very moment, every fucking panel is repeating the same stupid sentiments over and over and over again. That like Kamala didn't attack right enough. She should attack further to the fucking right. That was a major flaw in her campaign. All this shit. Remember, the part of your brain that wanted to believe that comfortable narrative that people were pushing and work against that. We should have accountability for people on our side that spread misinformation about polling. I don't necessarily care about that all too much. I'm more of a message person. I care about the campaign that the Democratic Party is committed to. I don't really give a shit about people not believing or believing the polls all that much. Because I think that polling being correct or polling being incorrect does not change the reality that the Democratic Party was obviously doing a fucking awful job. I actually unsubbed a couple months ago because I was so angry that with what you were saying, but you were right and I was wrong. I never thought it would be a Harris blowout, but I thought she had more support than she did. It's all good. You can subscribe again now. All of you can subscribe as well, as a matter of fact, at the top of the hour where there is not a 3-minute ad break, but you can still subscribe regardless. Twitch Primes are free. And you can subscribe to show support if you would like to. And keep this an ad-free broadcasting experience for everyone. You can also get gifted a sub. You can use those emotes that you get from gifted subs. Where's the flex, though? I mean, I'm wearing a suit today, so. Are we cooked? I think we are. I think we are definitely not in a good situation. Let's see what the Democratic Party messaging is. Let's see what it looks like. I'm very interested to see. Yeah, viewers like you, PBS style. Viewers like you keep the editorial independence of the Hasanabi broadcast. By subscribing, you can show your support and help me maintain my editorial independence. Subscribe now for free with a Twitch Prime or by $6. Holy fuck. Wait, hold on. I don't know if you mentioned this, but congrats on your highest viewed broadcast at 312,000 peak concurrent viewers. Yeah. That was the other side. We didn't even get to like experience the joy of hitting those fucking markers. But yes, last night I reached 312,000 live concurrent viewers, doubling the number of the likes of, basically doubling the number of the likes of NBC News and many other news outlets. And yeah, it ultimately was not great. Yes, doubling the number of news outlets online. Yeah. I've aggregated 34 polls that show the immense popularity of the ceasefire and emphasize the positive impact the weapons embargo would have on Kamala Harris' chance of winning the election. I wish I didn't have to make this list. This was a Hasanabi head that made this list. But I'm consistently seeing Democrats and liberals and even some progressives make the argument that this is an issue that will impact the election, often saying not enough voters care about Gaza for it to matter. I hope this comprehensive list of polls can dispel this ridiculous argument so more pressure can be applied and get a weapons embargo implemented ASAP. Split ticket data for progress conducted July 1st to July 3rd. Generic ballot found Dems had a 3+3 lead over Republicans. When told that both Republicans and Democrats agree with Israel's approach, Dems +3 lead becomes a tie. However, if the Democrats said to support an immediate ceasefire and a halt of military aid and arms sales to Israel, the lead doubles to +6, driven mainly by reaching independents and non-voters. What was interesting is I think if the Republican was set to support an immediate ceasefire and a halt to military aid and arms to Israel, the Republican also led over the Democrat. AI poll conducted. Harris' support rises from 44 to 49 if she endorsed the suspension of U.S. arms shipment until there was a ceasefire and withdrawal of forces from Gaza. About half respondents said an immediate ceasefire is very important to them. YouGov IMEU policy project conducted July 25th to 9th on swing state voters. 34% of PA voters, 35% of AR voters, 39% of Georgia voters are more likely to support the Democratic nominee if they vowed to withhold weapons to Israel. Less likely was between 5 to 7%. She's not talking yet. Why are you guys saying she's speaking? I'm speaking. Bernie popped off on the Dems, by the way. My goat. Raise your hand. God bless America. Fuck. The 18 to 34 demographic shift to me is the most startling, says global affairs columnist from the Washington Post. At the risk of painting a far too broad brush, it's an entire generation that's trending towards post-literacy. That doesn't read full articles, doesn't read books, gets its information from bits and bobs of video while scrolling. This is true not just of young people, but of course, it's reshaping the political landscape. I think that is a major issue here for sure. Here, let's speed this up, see if it catches up to real life. What the fuck is post-literacy? It just means that people don't give a fuck about reading a full article anymore, and they're just like they're slaves of the goddamn headlines and TikTok videos. Our attention spans have shortened. Okay? Yeah. The two Senate Dems to win in Trump states so far being Baldwin, a lesbian Medicare for All supporter and former opponent of the Iraq War, and Slotkin, a former CIA officer who ran ads with pics of her with George W. Bush, points towards Kamala's loss being less about ideology and more about competence. If the story was public rejection progressivism, Baldwin wouldn't have fared well. She's arguably to the left of Harris. If it was voters rejecting centrism, Slotkin wouldn't have done well. The common denominator is that they were A, experienced, B, not Biden admin members. Gallego in Arizona is another example. He's outrunning Kamala by a ton. In the state, she's lost a ton of ground. He's a past progressive who ran hard to the center like she tried to. It worked for him, but not for her. I don't think so. I think that, once again, it's issues based for the most part when it comes to Senate runs, and when it comes down to like down ballot races, they are forced to make stances on issues specifically. A lot of people definitely didn't like Joe Biden. That much remains. And a lot of people associated Kamala Harris with Joe Biden, and that was a major flaw. But I think the reality of the matter is that there are like we will never know what a more progressive message would look like in those races. That's number one. And number two, I think that overall, when you have to force your campaign around issues directly and not about like fucking civility or whatever the fuck, people are going to be more responsive to that. Yeah. Also, Gallego's opponent is very unlikable. That as well plays a role.
Listen.
Trainwrecks goes off on his chat for thinking their lives are going to be changed from better due to Donald Trump being elected.
Tomorrow, listen. Tomorrow, your life is not changing. You're waking up.
He's doing the Hasanabi method. He's doing it. The mad lad. That is like verbatim what I've been telling Republicans in my chat. They keep saying cope and seethe.
Going to work, or you're waking up. You're picking your ass for the little dingleberry that's sticking out of your fucking ass hairs. And
what a beautiful way with words he
you're going to
has.
flick it on your fucking wall. That's about it. Your life is not changing. Do you understand? Your life is not changing. The only person getting rich from this is me, Aiden Ross, XQC, and he's fucking... Brother, a Canadian is getting more result from...
Okay, to be fair, that's not true. XQC is down $700,000. I'm sure that he's more than made up for it with how much cryptocurrencies went up, but like he did lose $700,000 because Divorcelli told him Kamala is a lock.
Trump winning than you as an American. How can you, normal people that are living your 9-to-5 jobs, be sitting here saying, yeah, man, fuck yeah, Trump won. Life's going to be great now. Hell yeah. Brother, I can name 10 Canadians that are benefiting from Trump winning more than you Americans. What the fuck delusional world are you living in? Tomorrow,
I think there's a possible future where there's a party realignment where Democrats decide they have to go further right than the Republican Party in order to win. I feel like that's the only possible strategizing the powers that be in the Democratic Party can come up with. I mean, you will never be able to outflank the Republicans. They'll just be like full-blown Hitler. I mean, they are already there, pretty much. They just haven't said that they're full-blown Hitlerian, but their policies are full-blown Hitler. So I don't know how much further right they can go. I guess like they want to kill you if you're gay, maybe. Like, I don't know. Like concentration camps, not just for the undocumented migrants, but for like undesirables, the moral degenerates, in the same way that Hitler did for like trans people, gay people. White people are not allowed to have abortions. Like that would be, I guess that is where they'll go, but they'll still go right. There's always room to go more right.
The biggest character in this race to me was not on the ballot in 2020. It was Joe Biden, in my opinion. Like Joe Biden's refusal to do what he implied he would do in 2020 and transition to a different type of generation, allow Democrats to have a broader conversation about change, allow Democrats to be freed from the status quo, is not what happened. I think it would be easier for me to say that Donald Trump completed this mass realignment among the working class if we had a universe where the Democrats had a primary, where the Democrats nominated a candidate that was based around some set of ideas, and it was not tied to this administration so clearly and the status quo. But since that is not what happened, I think it has made the Republican ability be the agents of change so much easier that I find it the biggest thing that has happened in this race. And I think speaks to what we're saying about what's happened over the last 3 months. The place that they were in before the candidate switch happened made it such that you could run a perfect race or whatever. And you are still playing on ground that brings you to 50-50. Because the biggest thing, in my opinion, that happened was they tied themselves to an unpopular administration and with it, the status quo.
That did not represent change.
And there was a...
Yes, dude. Yes. It's 100%. Flawless campaign, by the way.
The biggest character in this race, to me, was not on the ballot.
Oh, here. This is the video version of Ested saying these things. Friend of the show, Ested. I specifically remember Biden saying he would run again. Why are people making this up? No, he actually alluded to being a one-term president and a transitional candidate pretty early on because everyone was like, he's old, he's too old, he's too old. Start the steal is what I'm saying. Why the fuck haven't we started the steal yet? What happened? Is it too big to rig, folks? Are the too big to rig guys right? Were they right? They were too big to rig. Start the steal. Anyway, Donald Trump is no greater friend of the far left, which has managed to alienate historic numbers of Latinos, blacks, Asians, and Jews from the Democratic Party with absurdities like defund the police or from the river to the sea or Latinx. There is more to lose and there is to gain politically from pandering to a far left that is more representative of Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok than it is of the real world. The working class is not buying the ivory towered nonsense that the far left is selling. Context here, despite representing the poorest district in the country, a survey of Torres' public posts from January 2021 to October 2023 shows he mentioned Israel 236% more than he mentioned poverty. Another fun fact, in 2024, Richie Torres received more money from pro-Israel groups than any of the other 434 members of Congress, with $1.93 million in donations and super PAC support. Just so you understand, fraudulent charlatan he is. From trying, they changed the... Yeah, Richie Torres also was too busy. Instead of fucking campaigning and instead of getting out the vote, he spent the last 5 days leading up to the election writing letters with a congressional header to try to get me, the largest progressive content creator in North America, banned from Twitch. And he was primed to do so by a community chock full of online trolls that have been doing Gamergate style politics. That's what they were focused on. in the last couple of days of the election while I was trying to do election coverage. That's what the fuck they were focused on. Just interesting stuff to me. I feel like maybe your priorities were a little out of whack. They're doubling down on that. They think you caused Kamala to lose. Yeah. Should have been phone banking and knocking on fucking doors, you know? More doors. Yeah, but he did a lit video editing though. Worth it? Yeah, he did. He fucking clipped like 18-second increments. Yeah, reporters should ask these politicians that want swinging too far to the left means support for trans people, gay marriage, higher minimum wage. Force them to spell it out. We swung the pendulum too far to the left, Representative Richie Torres told Semaphore. We are increasingly becoming the party of college educated rather than the working class, and as a result, we are paying an electoral price for it. I hope we have a serious reckoning. Trump shouted out streamers in his speech. Do you think Kamala will mention you? Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, Biden won in 2020 because of me. No, just kidding. When the Democrats win, it's in spite of me, and when the Democrats lose, it's because of me. Me. It's so fucking stupid, dude. I'm a goddamn Twitch streamer. If your fucking entire worldview is like revolving around dominating a fucking Twitch streamer, you have to literally just log out of every social media platform that you're on and just live in the real world for a second. Okay? It's actually insane. It's so goddamn delusional. Anyway, like I said, there's not a single swing state where Kamala could have won if every single Jill Stein Cornell wasn't Claudia de la Cruz vote went to her. In states where Trump won by a large margin, populist economic policies won. Paid sick leave in Nebraska and minimum wage in Missouri. Okay? Just remember the age-old adage. Americans love radical progressive measures. They just hate the fucking Democrats. There is nothing more popular in the Rust Belt, in the Sun Belt, in the Midwest, all around the nation than a faceless, lifeless, radical, quote unquote, radical ballot measure. He had no ground game. He was out fundraised. He was outspent. He was out volunteered. Voter turnout was up. Women voters showed up. Something doesn't add up. We're in blue and on territory. Great. He won, man. He won fair and fucking square. What the hell are we doing here? I'm so scared that liberals are deluding themselves into like the exact same. She lost because of misogynoir. You can see this through the dissection of the demographics. Okay, guys, Kamala Harris is a black woman. Okay, she knows this better than you all do. Why do I know she knows this? Because she never did that like, I'm a black woman, that's why you have to vote for me shit that Hillary Clinton was pulling off when she was going the I'm with her route. Okay? You have to overcome those hurdles, and she could have out-messaged on that. Not by tacking to the right, but by simply addressing the fucking problems that people were experiencing. That's it. People do not give a shit who their politician is or what their demographic background looks like. There are people who do care about that, and they're racist, and they're never going to fucking vote for her anyway, okay? They're Republicans regardless. But there are so many people who just want to believe that the Democratic Party will defend them. And if you don't put that message out there, you're not going to win. That's it. That's it. We're still waiting on Kamala Harris. Your prescription for the Democrats are just confirming your priors. Yes, they're my priors for a reason. I don't believe ascendant fascism is a law of nature. I feel the nominally left-wing party in the U.S. is paid to discipline populism, not win elections, and that is bad. For weeks, I asked any evidence Liz Cheney had naturally occurring constituency outside of MSNBC, and I was repeatedly told Shore and Dunn had super secret data that this is what the public was crying out for. You think I'm just vibing on ideology? You should see the other guys. It's all ideology all the way down. Welcome to the party. This is very important to understand. They call us idealists. We are not idealists. We are pragmatists. We are realists, okay? The things that we advocate for are not only morally correct, but they're also good campaign measures, whether it be on Gaza, okay, separating yourself from Biden's objectively horrifying, morally unconscionable, but also deeply unpopular Israel policy was not only the morally correct thing to do, but it was also electorally successful. Do you understand? And it's not just Gaza either. There's room in the tank for every single fucking issue that the Democratic Party tacked to the center on. Okay? Every single issue, sorry. Say you want to expand Medicare. If you're not going to do Medicare for all, say you want to expand Medicare to at least 55-year-olds. That is a fantastically popular, means-tested policy. But no, we can't do that. That's too radical. This is why I don't understand why they ever picked Tim Walz to begin with. It does not make any sense. Okay? Instead on CNN right now, I'm not going to watch CNN. I don't want them to come after me. Yeah, and here, those Medicare drug prices that are supposed to drop in 2026 will now happen under a Trump administration, which he will, of course, take credit for. And then maybe he'll be able to push J.D. Vance into a resounding success. A quick heartbreaking video of from October of Black Detroit organizers. Okay, we're not going to do that right now. Yep, time to break from the left. Next time, Dems should try saying they'll do more crackdown on immigration than Republicans. Instead of defund the police, run a prosecutor. Talk about having a gun, wanting a strong military instead of your identity. Just some ideas. More ideas of how Dems should pivot to the middle in the wake of this loss. Offer to put a Republican in your cabinet. Find Republicans willing to be your surrogates and make them major parts of the campaign. Talk up how much you agree with Republicans on the issue in debates. If you do wind up proposing a policy like capital gains tax increase, make sure that you propose a hike smaller than proposals from other leading Democrats. Avoid making substantive concessions to the activist left on Israel. In fact, reassert Israel's right to defend itself. I guess at the end of the day, I just wish Harris hadn't said Latinx so much. What was also so nutty about it was Kamala Harris had ran against all of this in 2019 when the Democratic Party was worried about a Bernie Sanders victory in the primaries. That's the issue here. Like, that's the problem here. Do you believe the rest of the world should have something to say in the U.S. election? Yeah, it's not how that works. Bernie Sanders calling out the Democrats. Do we have a video or just a post? Oh, also, the Department of Justice are delaying their cases against Donald Trump as expected. Oh, boy.
That these cases can't go forward when Donald Trump takes office. What's interesting here is that the DOJ is moving to end them even before he takes office, citing the long-standing DOJ policy that sitting presidents can't be prosecuted. And there was some thought that maybe Special Counsel Jack Smith was going to sprint through the finish line, was going to work up until the last day, force Trump to fire him, wait till a new attorney general was appointed. But that does not appear to be the thinking inside the department. The thinking is that these cases can't go forward. There's no reasonable prospect of getting to trial within the 3 months before Donald Trump takes office. These cases are mired in legal issues that would be appealed all the way to the Supreme Court had Donald Trump lost the election. So now that he's won the election, DOJ officials are thinking that, look, there's just no room to move in these cases. And so the sensible thing to do is to figure out a way to wind them down. And it may stem from Donald Trump's lawyers filing some kind of motion or making a request saying in light of the DOJ policy, you need to drop these cases. Now, there are a few wrinkles here, one of which is that the classified documents case includes 2 other defendants who are not subject to that policy. And it's been dismissed, obviously, but that dismissal has been appealed. And the DOJ considers that ruling to be very bad law, that it would like to be overturned. So that appeal may continue in some form. But the reality is that Donald Trump is not going to be a part of these cases. And what this means, I mean, we knew this, right? But just coming to grips with what this means intellectually is that Donald Trump is not likely to be held accountable on these very serious federal criminal charges that many people believe were worse than what Richard Nixon did or was accused of doing in Watergate. Now, there's no guarantee that Donald Trump would have been convicted at trial. But as Joyce Vance, our legal commentator, said to me this morning, what's not going to happen is he's not going to face a jury of his peers who would evaluate the evidence and render a verdict.
Kamala's here.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Everybody calm down.
Good afternoon.
Let's hear what Mamala has to say.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So let me say, and I love you back. And I love you back. So let me say, my heart is full today. My heart is full today. Full of gratitude, the trust you have placed in me, full of love for our country, and full of resolve. The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for. But hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright. As long as we never give up, and as long as we keep fighting, always burn bright. As long as we never give up, and as long as we keep fighting.
Oh, they're spamming L's in the Kamala chat.
To my beloved Doug and our family, I love you so very much. To President Biden and Dr. Biden, thank you for your faith and support. To Governor Walz and the Walz family, I know your service to our nation will continue. And to my extraordinary team, to the volunteers who gave so much of themselves, to the poll workers and the local election officials, I thank you. I thank you all.
Why is she smiling?
Look, I am so proud of the race we
lost.
ran. And the way we ran it. And the way we ran it. Over the 107 days of this campaign, we have been intentional about building community and building coalitions. Bringing
Guys, she's smiling because there's going to be so many Republicans in the cabinet.
United by love of country, with enthusiasm and joy in our fight for America's future.
She wanted all the Republicans to be in the cabinet, and she got it.
The knowledge that we all have so much more in common than what separates us. Now, I know folks are feeling and experiencing a range of emotions right now. I get it, but we must accept the results of this election. Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition, and that we will engage in a peaceful transfer of power. A fundamental principle of American democracy is that when we lose an election, we accept the results. That principle, as much as any other, distinguishes democracy from monarchy or tyranny, and anyone who seeks the public trust must honor it. At the same time, in our nation, we owe loyalty not to a president or a party, but to the Constitution of the United States. Loyalty to our conscience and to our God. My allegiance to all three is why I am here to say, while I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign. The fight for freedom, for opportunity, for fairness, and the dignity of all people. A fight for the ideals at the heart of our nation, the ideals that reflect America at our best. That is a fight I will never give up. I will never give up the fight for a future where Americans can pursue their dreams, ambitions, and aspirations, where the women of America have the freedom to make decisions about their own body and not have their government telling them what to do. We will never give up the fight to protect our schools and our streets from gun violence. And America, we will never give up the fight for our democracy, for the rule of law, for equal justice, and for the sacred idea that every one of us, no matter who we are or where we start out, has certain fundamental rights and freedoms that must be respected and upheld. And we will continue to wage this fight in the voting booth, in the courts, and in the public square. And we will also wage it in quieter ways, in how we live our lives, by treating one another with kindness and respect, by looking in the face of a stranger and seeing a neighbor, by always using our strength to lift people up, to fight for the dignity that all people deserve. The fight for our freedom will take hard work. But like I always say, we like hard work. Hard work is good work. Hard work can be joyful work. And the fight for our country is always worth it. It is always worth it. To the young people who are watching, I love you. To the young people who are watching, it is okay to feel sad and disappointed, but please know it's going to be okay. On the campaign, I would often say, when we fight, we win. But here's the thing. Sometimes the fight takes a while.
Angst for the 5
That doesn't mean we won't win. That doesn't mean we won't win.
What are you talking about? Win what?
The important thing is don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. Don't ever stop trying to make the world a better place. You have power. You have power. And don't you ever listen when anyone tells you something is impossible because it has never been done before. You have the capacity to do extraordinary good in the world. And so to everyone who is watching, do not despair. This is not a time to throw up our hands. This is a time to roll up our sleeves. This is a time to organize, to mobilize, and to stay engaged for the sake of freedom and justice and the future that we all know we can build together. Look, many of you know I started out as a prosecutor, and throughout my career, I saw people at some of the worst times in their lives. People who had suffered great harm, great pain, and yet found within themselves.
Oh my God, please say it.
The strength and the courage
say that you are a small business lover. I'm a small business. You're a small business.
To take a stand, to fight for justice, to fight for themselves, to fight for others. So let their courage be our inspiration. Let their determination be our charge. And I'll close with this. There's an adage an historian once called a law of history, true of every society across the ages. The adage is, only when it is dark enough can you see the stars. I know many people feel like we are entering a dark time, but for the benefit of us all, I hope that is not the case. But here's the thing, America, if it is, let us fill the sky with the light of a brilliant, brilliant billion of stars. The light of optimism, of faith, of truth, and service.
Donald Trump said he's going to start mass deportations day one, by the way, as of this morning, according to Axios reporting.
May that work guide us, even in the face of setbacks, toward the extraordinary promise of the United States of America. I thank you all. May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America. I thank you all.
Why is she laughing and smiling? Why is she laughing and smiling? I don't understand. Even Doug looks more upset about the prospect of a American fascist tomorrow. You know what I mean? She's like, yeah, I fuck shit up. I tanked this shit, dude. That's right. That's right. I came in and I fucking destroyed any hope that you might have had of combating growing fascist momentum in this country. And I'm smiling and waving away, dude. Let's go. She made hints for a run in 2028, but her political future is dead, right? Don't tell me the libs will. No. She's done. It's over. I do not believe that Kamala Harris has a singular shot in hell of running for higher office or running for the highest office ever again. Especially because Nancy Pelosi and many others in the establishment actually fucking did not like her. They didn't. They were like, she sucks. We should do an open primary. I thought it was a mistake to do an open primary because I thought like she would at least have competent people around her to like, you know, message appropriately. I was wrong. I'm sorry, but what are you saying? You wanted her to cry or what? The fuck do you mean? Demonstrate the appropriate emotion for the fucking time, okay? For the times that are ahead. You just lost to Donald Trump. You just lost to a motherfucking fascist like Donald Trump, who was already, he had lost once already. People didn't like him. He was a disliked person. She's over here smiling and being like, yeah, that's right. Are we in imminent danger or not? Is Donald Trump a fascist or not? Can someone explain this to me? A brief history of presidential concessions. Trump has never explicitly conceded. The thing is, the Democratic Party's like talent is so deep. The bench is deep, dude. There are a lot of guys like Timothy Waltz out there, okay? Tim Walz is not the only guy. You got Gretchen Whitmer. You even have fucking the likes of Big Boy Pritzker. You have a lot of people out there. You have Bashar, Hassan, shut the fuck up challenge. You're fucking dumb. Let me guess. You're upset that I'm telling a woman that she shouldn't be smiling in this moment, right? That's what you're tracking. Is that what it is? Oh, never mind. Why'd people happy? Okay, you're just fucking around. Anyway, so there are a lot of people. There are a lot of people in the fucking deck ready to go. People who could do populist leadership. The problem is, I think if the Democratic Party has populists that are popular, that they could actually present like a more radical, more progressive agenda that would be genuinely broadly popular and a game changer for many Americans. But Democrats also have the likes of Josh Shapiro and Pete Buttigieg. And I think the Democratic Party is going to recalculate and retriangulate and try to go back to the Pete Buttigieg in the talent pool, less than the likes of Gretchen Whitmer. That's what I foresee. They're going to go with the Newsom. Yeah, they're going to go with the Pete Buttigieg, Gavin Newsom, Shapiro route. Young, more vibrant, better communicators, certainly more charismatic than the likes of Kamala Harris, for example, but people who are still going to be seen as establishment shills with new packaging. We shall see what happens, because these next 4 years are going to be pretty important in hopefully changing the attitude within the Democratic Party, because this spectacular failure should at the very least wake up some people who still have some level of decency and some level of interest in preserving the future prospects of the American Democratic Party, maybe stopping American fascism. I don't know. It's kind of copium for sure.
The party that comes up short with the voters of this country regroups, and she seemed to do everything in her power to push the fight to the groups that Joy is talking about, who very much chose her.
Or maybe there won't be another election. So there's that reality as well. Let's look at Bernie's statement. It should come as no great surprise that the Democratic Party, which has abandoned working class people, would find the working class has abandoned them. First, it was the white working class. Now it is Latino and black workers as well. While the Democratic leadership defends the status quo, the American people are angry and want change. And they're right. Today, while the very rich are doing phenomenally well, 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and we have more income and wealth inequality than ever before. Unbelievably, real inflation accounted for weekly wages for the average American worker are actually lower now than they were 50 years ago. Today, despite an explosion in technology and worker productivity, many young people will have a worse standard of living than their parents, and many of them worry that artificial intelligence and robotics will make a bad situation even worse. Today, despite spending far more per capita than other countries, we remain the only wealthy nation not to guarantee health care to all as a human right, and we pay, by far, the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. We alone among major countries cannot even guarantee paid family and medical leave. We're the only one who can't do that. Today, despite strong opposition from a majority of Americans, we continue to spend billions funding the extremist Netanyahu government's all-out war against the Palestinian people, which has led to the horrific humanitarian disaster of mass malnutrition and the starvation of thousands of children. Will the big money interests and well-paid consultants who control the Democratic Party learn any real lessons from this disastrous campaign? Will they understand the pain and political alienation that tens of millions of Americans are experiencing? Do they have any ideas as to how we can take on the increasingly powerful oligarchy, which has so much economic and political power? Probably not. In the coming weeks and months, those of us he said probably not. He's done. He's like, yeah, I've won my 84th independent Vermont senatorial run. I'm done. I'm out. In the coming weeks and months, those of us concerned with grassroots democracy and economic justice need to have some very serious political discussions. Stay tuned. Anyway, this is a surprisingly more critical statement from Bernie Sanders, who has almost always consistently towed the party line at the end, okay? And even after the race is over. So I'm a little bit shocked. Stay tuned. Bernie 2028. Yeah, dude, he's going to run at 98 years old. What use is there for saying this now, Bernie? You bend the knee every time. I understand you don't have the spine anymore, but then you redirect your political capital towards a leftist who does. Brother, this is the impact, or rather the shortcomings of entryism, okay? That's it. That's it. I grade politicians on a curve. Make no mistake. I very openly talk about this. It's not necessarily what I personally love from a political campaign, what I think is the best thing for a political campaign to do. It's more so within the limited confines of being in Congress, how far can you push it? That's it. This is why, in spite of my disagreements with Bernie Sanders time and time again, I still have tremendous respect for him. Dems will not be focusing on Gaza more after the L. They'll double down on the Zionist vote. No, I think you're wrong about that. You'll see some things coming out in the at least from certain parts of the caucus. Excuse me, entryism works incredibly well, actually. You just need to be a neoconservative. That's true. Entryism is always fantastic if you're a neocon. They will always fucking have room for you in the party. I mean, look at this. Why is this fucking loser still on television,
to a
man?
movement that is, as Claire said, an FU or a middle finger to the establishment and the elite. But there are a whole lot of women in this country, I think, who feel like collateral damage, because the truth is ProPublica has just started its extraordinary body of reporting about the fatal aspect of being pregnant in America, Donald Trump's post-Dobbs America. And those stories won't go away. They will only become more of a flashing red light. And the truth is, right now, the conversations women have in hallways and in colleges is about what they would do if they got pregnant and didn't have access to abortion health care, or if they were pregnant in their 30s or 40s and it was not viable. Where would they go? Who would take care of them? And that is a reality, and that is behind a lot of the emotion that a lot of women, I think, and fear that men feel too today.
They have to be criticized as well. If they had shown any real opposition to Biden admin, the elections could have been much different. What you called their calculation to decide to back Biden and be silent has been a fiasco. I think that there was a mistake there for sure. I don't disagree with that. I was very openly critical of that move while it was happening, obviously. But listen, you're never going to get someone like me to go above and beyond and only hyper-focus on the likes of Bernie Sanders. Just as I do not spend an insane amount of time like yelling about fucking what Twitter leftists are saying, I'm not going to spend a whole ordeal hyper-focusing on some of the people closest to my worldview that are active in American Congress. Okay? That's it. That's my calculation. You might disagree with that, and that's perfectly fine. Okay? But I don't think that that is productive. I want others in Congress to come closer to Bernie's position, to come closer to AOC's position. You might disagree with that, and that's perfectly fine. You know? That's your opinion. My opinion is mine. But I am always going to focus on the real fucking demons. Okay? Because the reality of the matter is, while there are a tremendous number of failures that the progressive wing of the Democratic Party has contributed to, okay, it's still, I mean, it's not even close to like the establishment, what the establishment Democrats are championing. As I've stated before, if 75% of the Democratic caucus had AOC's position on Israel, this would not even be a question. This wouldn't even be a problem. They would have already passed the bill to stop weapons shipments, like with resounding success. Or they would have gotten Biden. They would have been able to pressure Biden into stopping this. So I don't want that from you, Abby. It's still a reality. The progressive movement chose to stay silent to not hurt the chances of Biden getting reelected. With the benefit of hindsight, I think it probably did the opposite and alienated the base. If there was an actual primary, it probably would have been much better. Yeah. Nice magenta suit, buddy. You think you're slick, signifying you're not being open about your right-wing grift from here on out. It's gross, but the only way it can be stopped is subscribing at the top of the hour. No ad break. You lost Kamala this election. Sorry, I'm a bit early. Had to get you. That's right. My right-wing grift is complete. I'm moving into the right-wing slant here. But yes, you can support my right-wing grift by subscribing and help me maintain my editorial independence with subscribers such as yours. Michael J. Stern, Hexa B2, thank you for the 10 gifted. CNN has a story titled Where the Harris Campaign Went Wrong. Nope, I won't read it. Harris ran a great campaign. The story should be titled Where the American People Went Wrong. Yeah, we should blame voters over and over again. I think that is going to be a successful strategy next time. Losing with some typically means winning with others and vice versa. Losing big with everyone across the board is nearly unprecedented and hard to conceive as even possible. Kamala Harris lost with every constituency, okay? With every constituency. Red wave is an understatement, except for plus 65-year-olds and white college women with a slight gain. Now, you need to understand. Wait, have you already addressed the 20 million less voters? It genuinely confuses me. Were people just not motivated to vote? Why is that confusing? There were two major reasons for why this happened. And I told you it was going to be depressed voter turnout regardless, because 2020 was unique because of COVID. You had universal ballot, you had universal early voting, mail-in ballots. It was much easier to vote. That's why Donald Trump made tremendous gains on his side, even though he lost, because Joe Biden had even bigger gains, right? But beyond that, there was always going to be less people voting overall. But one of the major problems with the Kamala Harris campaign is that he is slated to lose 10 to 15 million voters overall, whereas Donald Trump only lost around 3 million voters from his number in 2020. Okay? Count isn't over yet. Just in Cali, there's 7 million votes. I'm going to tell you right now, you don't want to look at those numbers. Okay? It's going to take a long time for the California votes to come in. I'm telling you right now, you are probably going to be shocked at what comes out of California. Not saying that, like, Kamala Harris is going to lose California or some shit, but simply stating that there are around 5 to 6 million, I believe, Republican voters in the state of California. This number is so large that it's larger than the number of Republican voters in like 3 red states combined. Okay? So obviously, it's impossible to make up for 5 million extra votes. 5 million extra votes that the Democrats had over the Republicans in the state of California in 2020. Having said that, however, the numbers and Trump's popularity in California will shock you. Yeah. Biden won California by 30% in 2020. Harris is leading by 17% currently, with 58% reported. Anyway, so yeah, that's another aspect of this. But what's really important is what people are not looking at. Okay, what people are looking at and what people are not looking at is very frustrating. On MSNBC, Joe Scarborough is blaming Trump's win on progressives for using pronouns. And now he's blaming anti-genocide protests on college campuses. And now Chris Matthews is saying that Democrats lost because they let in millions of migrants into the country. This rhetoric is indistinguishable from Fox News. Matthews is now saying America would only elect a woman who is more hawkish on war, as opposed to Harris, who said she wanted the most lethal military. Louise Jordan on it. But, I mean, I guess he's right, by the way. Chris Matthews is right on that, just so you know. It's just that it wouldn't be a Democrat. America is more likely to elect a woman president that is a Republican. Like, more hawkish on war. Like Nikki Haley would have fucking wiped the table. Louise Jordan on MSNBC, the progressive era has to end if the Democrats want to win again. Tim Nichols of The Atlantic on MSNBC, you're going to see America AWOL as the leader of the free world. Anyway, in the upcoming days, I will have more guests on the broadcast from many different backgrounds. I already have a bunch of journalists reaching out, wanting quotes about a litany of different things that I called out. And you'll start seeing those. I gave an interview to the Wired this morning. I'm sure that'll be coming out soon. And I will have some guests on to analyze what took place. Are you free today? But yeah, become the next 13 Keys guy. No, I'm not a fucking quack. That's the problem. Democrats and independents asked if they are more or less likely to vote for Harris if she pledges to withhold more weapons to Israel. Pennsylvania, 34% more likely, 7% less. Georgia, 39% more likely versus 5% less likely. Arizona, 35% more likely versus 5% less likely. And yeah, when I say I'm going to have interviews with people, I'm going to conduct interviews with people I also mean people who are Trump supporters, including but not limited to Bradley Martin, maybe even FaZe Banks once again. We will also have conversations with American politicians that are on the progressive side of the Democratic Party and the frustrations that they have and what the next steps are in order to make the Democratic Party a competent fighter against Republican fascism. Okay? The grifting starts, huh? Yeah. I'm going to have Bradley Martin on to agree with him on everything. I'm just going to fucking advocate for things that I'm diametrically opposed to all of a sudden out of nowhere. Yeah. We will also talk about the many different damaging policies that the Republican Party has presented throughout this campaign. And also, we will talk about what that means for the future of America. Hassan bringing Republicans to the table. Yeah, I mean, but for now, let's look at what the fucking Democratic Party is saying.
The mandate has won the national popular vote for the first time for a Republican for the first time since 2004.
Taking down a panel of woke CNN hosts.
This is a big deal. This isn't backing into the office. This is a mandate to do what you said you were going to do. Get the economy working again for regular working class Americans, fix immigration, to get crime under control, try to reduce the chaos in the world. This is a mandate from the American people to do that. I think I'm interpreting the results tonight as the revenge of just the regular old working class American, the anonymous American who has been crushed, insulted, condescended to.
Yawn. Look, the regular old American that has been insulted and condescended to. There is some truth to that. He's the worst person to say it. The truth of that still comes from the fact that the top line messaging to regular working class Americans is that, like, stick around, things are fine. Okay. Oh, here, incredible moment of
how much success Donald Trump had with
Mike Barbaro trying to give him an off ramp from calling something racist and me being like, no, I actually mean racist.
I have voting blocks that, as Lisa, you just pointed out, Democrats had long believed.
I know, man. Friends of the show are popping off.
We're going to remain loyal to them. But why? But why? Why did they believe that? Like, that evidence has been clear about the drop off for a long time, right? Like, we've had 2012, we've had 2016, we've had 2020. Like, we've actually had a lot of evidence to say that the demographic destiny undertone is one that is a faulty premise. The fact that they are holding on to the Obama era, in my opinion, is a racist assumption.
Yeah, 100%. The idea that, like, the demographics is destiny is the age-old adage that, like, both parties have deluded themselves into believing. Republicans believe it offensively, right? Where they say, oh, you want Mexicans to go and live in swing states, so they fucking vote Democrat, right? And you have that exact same principle on the Democratic Party side, where it's like, come on, Latinos, vote for us. The fuck? The other side is racist. And they're still running that route, not realizing that, like, a lot of the Hispanic population in the United States of America see themselves as white. Okay? They are firmly within the white category. They might not look white, but they vote white. Okay? In increasingly larger numbers. There is no like demographics of destiny. That's why I always laugh when fucking Republicans are like, immigrants are coming over the border to fucking vote Democrat. I'm like, what are you talking about? Look at Texas. The fuck? Look at Texas. The fuck do you mean? Part of that, and I have consistently talked about this issue, part of that is because Latino voters in Texas, and there's so much polling on this, okay? Latino voters in the state of Texas, Hispanic voters in the state of Texas, like social safety nets. They like it across the board. Even older Latino voters want more government spending, okay? Plenty of them have revolutionary backgrounds from the countries they came from. They're union organizers. They have a leftist slant on fiscal policy, on issues that pertain to the economy. On the other hand, they also sometimes happen to be more socially conservative. So if one party, the Republican Party, just says, yeah, we're not going to do anything on the fiscal policy front, but we'll ham on the social conservatism, and the other party doesn't do a single damn thing about it at all and just simply goes harm reduction, harm reduction, harm reduction. Those guys are racist. They'll be racist to you. Vote for us. That has been a demonstrable fucking failure for the Latino voters in Texas. And that has always been a failure. This is why I always have hyper-focused on the Texas Latino GOP outreach. The Republican Party has nationalized that at this point. Okay? If one side is saying, hey, you don't like abortion, you don't like the gay stuff, okay, I got you. I got you. Yeah, we'll fuck them up. And the other side is basically saying, no, you don't understand. These guys are racist. These guys are racist. Don't vote for them. Please vote for us instead. Without offering this base of support, any reliable ways of improving their material conditions, looking at what they're hurting on and saying, I got you. I'm going to do more social safety nets for you. Okay, I'm going to do it for everybody and you're going to benefit from it. Then yeah, slowly but surely, Republicans are going to pick apart that base. And they have. They did it so successfully in the state of Texas. And now they're doing it everywhere else. To simply say, oh, it's because these guys are just uneducated. That's not enough. Okay? To simply state like, oh, these guys are just like too stupid. That's not enough. That's dumb as fuck. You don't win elections that way, right? You don't. Everyone's stupid. We're in America, okay? I'm fucking stupid. We're all stupid. But we all vote, and it's pretty basic stuff. That's a coherent narrative, yeah, but nah. It's not only a coherent narrative, but I'm also giving you evidence, okay? And when the YouTube video comes out, I'm certain that my editors will place all of the fucking data points that I'm speaking to. I'm pulling this shit off the top dome. But that is the reality, okay? What is this? If Kamala ends up winning, the entire far left, the commies, tankies, the Hamas supporters, etc., need to be fucking jettisoned from the party. We don't need them to win elections. We can turn out our own base, and they are an absolute fucking cancer to be associated with. Yeah, well, this mentality, unfortunately, is broadly represented within the establishment Democrats, and that is the reason why they lost. The reason why they lost is because they hemorrhaged their base of support. Many people just simply didn't go out and vote. Why? Because they ran on harm reduction narratives. Harm reduction is not good for turnout. Okay? That's it. That's it. You cannot try to redefine the Democratic Party's base of support. If you only focus on the Liz Cheney constituency that literally does not exist, okay, then yeah, you're going to lose 14 million fucking voters. Some of them are going to take it one step further and go to the fucking right. They're going to be like, fuck this shit. I'm mad. I'm mad at the Democratic Party. They never fucking respond to my interests at all. Fuck these guys. I'm angry. At least those guys on the other side, on the Republican side, are saying I'm right to be angry. And then they're pointing my anger at something that is entirely irrelevant, you know, a red herring. Democrats picking Joe Biden over Bernie Sanders in 2020 when a map of donations looked like this is what guaranteed a Trump win in 2024. I mean, yeah, that too. The Liz Cheney part exists. It exists. That's just silly. You gotta be kidding, right? It went up 1%. Oh, it didn't, by the way. No, the Kamala Harris campaign lost more Republican voters. It actually went down by 1%. So you're not even right on that. You're literally wrong. It went down by 1%, not went up by 1%.
I'm saying that word like, I don't mean it like in a capital R way, but I mean it in like
a race-based assumption.
I mean, I think I would say lowercase racist. I would say that there is an assumption that it was a failure of imagination, that it couldn't be true.
I hear you. But I think there is a sense of like, yes, we saw this drumbeat coming. We saw that more people were identifying as Republicans in like all these polls. We saw that Democrats had moved towards the more conservative position on issues like immigration.
We saw that representation did not motivate people of color.
We saw that representation isn't enough. But at the same time,
you're saying having a black candidate.
People don't vote just on representation.
There's another half of this, though, which is that Democrats lost sight of why they were winning voters like this in the first place.
Thank you. Preach.
And
which is?
Well, one reason that I think is worth mentioning is the economy and helping working people against the establishment and corporations.
Yeah. Yeah, but hey, let's not listen. Let's not listen to these guys. Also, I hate to do this, but it's the 5 time. You're gonna watch Buttfeld do victory laps with Jesse Waters.
Peaceful transition after calling everyone misogynist, racist, speciest, fascist, convicted felon. You know, but I'm.
Isn't it funny that what they're saying is identical to what MSNBC is saying? By the way, pay close attention to the Republican sentiment here. Important lessons to be learned.
Damn, this guy's good.